Welcome, everyone. This is a special meeting of the Pembroke Pines City Commission of May 26, 2026. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Good.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hernandez.
Present.
Commissioner Rodriguez. Here. Commissioner Schwartz.
Present.
Mayor Castillo.
Here.
City Manager Dodge.
Here.
City Attorney Gorin.
I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I invite you all to stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the National Anthem. Mr. Attorney, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated, please. Thank you very, very much. If I could, allow me to set the tone for what it is that we're here to do today. And I think everyone on the dais knows this, but for those that are listening or who are in the audience today, we are not here today to place any item on the November ballot today. That is not the purpose of this meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss whether we want the prospect of a new police station, a new public safety station, a replacement station for Fire Station 69, placed in front of our residents at, 9 town hall meetings that are scheduled?
Yes, Mayor.
9 town hall meetings that are scheduled to happen in June. The commission unanimously directed that we have 9 town hall meetings on the 2 charter questions that are before the public. We're not going to discuss those 2 charter questions today. The only question that we're going to discuss today is whether we want to move forward with the presentation of a police station option to the public. So that's all that we're discussing. Shall we discuss this with the people of Pembroke Pines, or shall the prospect of building a new public safety station for the city of Pembroke Pines be abandoned? Now, this station, the new public safety complex, has been part of the city's work plan for well over a decade. I had that conversation with both our current fire chief and police chief, with our city manager, who was here since the inception, obviously, of that discussion, with 2 of the current police chief's predecessors, and also with the predecessor to the fire chief. This has been a discussion that the city has been having for a very, very long time. We are now at the point where we have to make this decision. There will be a presentation given to us by the architect, which has been working feverishly for the past year together with the city administration. And I want to thank all of you at the fire department, the police department, and the administration for working with this talented man who's going to present to us today his depiction of what this public safety station will be. The last time we went to the public with this, we did not have enough details, they told us. And they wanted a menu option, only one project that they might consider to vote on. We have been listening very, very carefully to what it is that the residents have told us. Now, I want you to know that all of the words that belong here are placed before us, commissioners, and we are now the owners of these words. So if something has to be changed, it can be changed. If something has to be adjusted, it can be adjusted. But I feel it's very, very important, if we're going to have 9 town hall meetings with the residents of the city about this subject, the public safety complex, that there be some showing of support on the part of this commission. More so than some showing of support. I just want you to know how I feel about this. Having been through all 10 of those planning years, I am convinced that, as the first resolution suggests, which is placed before us at the recommendation of our city manager, our police chief, and our fire chief, building a new public safety complex is required to uphold the health, safety, and welfare of the city. The facility is obsolete. It's technologically obsolete. It is not hurricane rated. It is much too small. We have outgrown it, and it is getting in the way of them being able to do a better job, as they must, for a city that is constantly changing during times that are constantly changing. They are recommending that this get done, and I agree with them. However, if this vote on this dais, and as you know, I vote last, is not unanimous, I will vote no. If anyone here feels that we should not be moving forward with it, I think we should abandon the idea. Because I'm not in the mood to get bitten by the same bee twice. When we went out the last time, it was very difficult to explain why folks should make a sacrifice in their own best interest for the city that they live in when their city commission couldn't even muster up a unanimous vote. Now, that's different when it comes to ballot language. Those are policy questions. This one is about money. And when it comes to something about money and big money like this, in my view, it should be unanimous. So when we take this vote, if anyone says no, I'm going to vote with the no vote. And I'm going to give anyone else a chance to change their vote. And I've checked this out with our parliamentarian. And as mayor, I have that authority. It's not something I'm going to do very often. Once we cast the vote, it should be cast. However, on this one, because of the stakes that are involved, there will be an opportunity. I think it's very, very important, if we're going to move forward with this at all, that it be unanimous and that we be able to say the city commission is unanimously against it, or we're not going to have the conversation at all because the project's been abandoned. At which point, I expect that one of you will make a motion to take this project out of our strategic plan, because we should not be telling the public that they should expect a new public safety building when we have no interest in proceeding with it. So that sets the stage. Mr. Dodge, I will turn this over to you, and you can introduce the architects who are going to be making the presentation, and then from there we'll go to the resolutions. Well, there'll be questions, obviously, and then we'll go to the resolutions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I would like the architect to come forward to present the option that staff has worked with. And I think it's very important to notice that the project scope is there, but I will be making a recommendation after we complete the review of the project, having also have an opportunity to hear from our bond counsel, our finance director, and then I'll make a recommendation as to where I think we should be and how we could come up with a number to fund it. But the bottom line is this: the project is the project that's listed, and he is going to share with us what the total cost is, but also included in that cost are close to up to $20 million extra to account for changes in the cost of the project, so we have flexibility. So, sir?
Sir, if
introduce
you
yourself.
could, there's a button there that says speak. You are now on. If you could, please, your name and your affiliation.
Sure. My name is Rodney McManus. I'm the Senior Vice President and Director of Operations for Architects Design Group in Winter Park, Florida.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Dodge, and all commissioners, it's a pleasure to be here. Same with you all, too. As the mayor said, we've been working with the city for over a decade now to help put this project together. We believe as well that it's a very important project. We've toured the buildings that are existing. We've seen the condition of them, and we understand the difference between what you have presently and what a state-of-the-art facility could
If you
offer.
could speak a little closer to the mic.
Sure,
Thank you.
sure. And what a state-of-the-art facility could offer to the city of Pembroke Pines. To gather this information, we've met with a variety of police chiefs and fire chiefs. As you've said, over the years, we've met with the city. We've met with every department within each of the fire and police departments. We've got a very good idea as to what the scope of the work is that you want to accomplish. We understand how the chiefs want their departments to run, how they want their both the fire and the police department to function, and what departments need to be adjacent to each other to make that happen properly. We're utilizing the same site, which is a somewhat small site. So the buildings that we're proposing are a 2-story fire station along with a 5-story police department and also a 5-level parking garage as well, so that we can get all the public and the secured parking accommodated on the site. While we were working with the departments, as you'll see on the screen up here, we've come up with the different needs that each department will require to be the state-of-the-art facility that you would like to have here. In order to get this information, we used a variety of techniques. We had questionnaires that were filled out. We met with the chiefs on many occasions. We've kind of volleyed back and forth with ideas. We've met with every department, and we've captured every square footage or square foot of space that needs to be in this building, we believe. Basically, what we have here is about 5 acres of site. We have a public safety facility that, for the first year, next year, this year, would need to be a little over 108,000 square feet, that would also grow in 30 years to 122, almost 123,000 square feet. We've got fire station number 69, which day one, it's not going to grow any over the next 30 years. Oh, thank you. It won't grow any over the next 30 years, according to the information we've gathered, and that would be 21,391 square feet. We have, in addition to that, on the second floor of the fire station, we have, in 30 years, we'll need a 9,189 square foot fire administration area, and then a parking structure with rolling asset storage, both fire and police, that would be 145,671 square feet. And then we've got 2 decentralized utility plants. This project is going to be built in phases, and so we thought it best to have an individual central utility plant per building, and that would save you money, and it would also allow you to bring those those needs on board while you're doing the work on those buildings. So there's no crossing of the construction. And then we will replace we'll find a new home for the tower, as well as replace the existing fueling depot as part of this project. Just go down. So when we were working with this, we defined many different development options. One that was built just for the present needs, one that were built for or designed for 15 years down the road, one that was designed for 30 years down the road, the square footage to capture with incorporating shell space for additional functions exactly where they need to be in the buildings as the departments grow. These spaces will be not occupied when they're first constructed, but will be able to be occupied as the building and the needs change. We like to do that because you're building at today's prices versus building at 30 years from now prices, which the construction industry is only getting more and more and more. So that's how we put this together. The option that we're presenting tonight is option C 2.2, which I think you should be familiar with, which shows the new public safety facility and garage being phase 1 and the fire station being phase 2. We'll first go through the costs that we've outlined. You can see them on the monitors above. The new public safety building, the police headquarters and training construction is going to be 108,853 square feet. That's about 500.
Mayor, can the presenter please put it on the screen so the public can see? I don't have the ability to see it at the moment.
What do you need?
The slides, if they could be aired. Right now, all I'm seeing is the commission dais.
IT, can you air this, please? Commissioner, let's pause
Thank
a
you, Mayor.
minute. It's important.
I have.
It's important that the commissioner be able to see the information. Is it up? Can you see it now, Commissioner?
It's up. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
It's up. Thank you.
Okay, great. First, we'll talk about what we call development hard costs. That's the building construction and the site development. The hard costs include the new public safety facility, the police headquarters and training, construction for 108,000 square feet, 108,853 square feet at $555 per square foot for a total of $59,869,150. Future expansion, this is what I was talking about with the shell space, could be constructed at $450 a square foot. That's 14,088 additional square feet that would be usable in the future for a total cost of $339,600. The parking.
So I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I just need clarification on if we're going with option C 2.2. Are you saying that it's for the year 2041 or for 2056?
It's built. The entire space that is going to be necessary for 2056 with the area required for 2041 built out on day one.
Okay,
and
understood.
so there will be shared.
The entirety of the building would be for 2056.
Correct.
In not totally built out, not every single, closet stack, things like that.
Exactly.
Okay, understood.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And the reason we do that is because things might change a little bit. And so to build something for 30 years out can be a little bit hard. So.
And then would there be additional cost in building?
There would, but it would be pennies on the dollar.
And not building a whole new structure.
Not building the whole new
Understood.
thing.
Thank you.
The floor, walls, ceilings, everything will be there. And the power, everything, HVAC will all be there. In addition, the parking structure is built for 288 spaces. That's at $34,000 per space for a total of $9,792,000. Then a rolling asset storage, including 29 spaces on the ground level of the parking structure to be outfitted, takes a total of 24,687 square feet at $220 per square foot for a cost of $5,431,140. And then the PD headquarters utility plant allowance is at 65% of the gross square footage. Would cost $5,200. $5,200,000. My apologies.
That's all right.
And that includes the generator, the fuel tanks, fuel pumps, HVAC equipment, protective cages, et cetera, which will harden it for hurricane rated winds. This also includes the demolition and disposal of the existing PD headquarters at $7.50 a square foot for 39,800 square feet, totaling $298,500. And then a new fire station, which will be part of phase 2, would be constructed. It would take 30,254 square feet at $625 per square foot for a total of $18,908,750. Along with that, we'll have fire administration utility plant, and that counts for 35% of the gross square footage at a cost of $2.8 million. And that, again, includes the generator, fuel tanks, fuel pumps, HVAC equipment, and protective cages. The demolition and disposal fees for the existing fire station number 69 are included as well. 24,706 square feet at $7.50 per square foot for a total of $185,295, making the subtotal of the building construction cost $108,824,435.
Question.
Yes, sir.
For all of these square footage, because all of this is just an estimate,
Yes, sir.
did you build in the possibility of future cost? And so what did you do? You took current square footage costs for these areas based on your professional experience, and then you added some for possible inflation between now and the time that the building gets built?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
so
correct.
What was your baseline for square footage construction? Where did that come from? I'm going to be asked this question.
Yeah, the square footage comes from identifying every single room that's going to be needed in these
No,
facilities.
what I'm saying is where were these market values derived?
Oh, they're based on information that we've gotten for working in Florida for the last 52 years. We get databases
52
built
years.
Yes.
So this is based on 52 years of experience
Yes,
building buildings like this in Florida.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And
Okay.
then, sorry, on the
Yes.
inflation part, understandably, inflation has been rapidly increasing over the last couple of years, much more than what a normal inflation increase
Correct.
data set would provide. So what's the difference that you've placed in it to accommodate for what now is inflation?
We find that it's somewhere between 5 and 6% per year,
Okay.
Annually. So we have to make sure that the escalations are that. That's how much we see presently. So when we do the project schedule, we look at like the fire station. The fire station is going to cost a little bit more per square foot than the police station is because it's being built at a
Slightly
later date.
later on.
Slightly later
Okay.
date.
And that's
so-
accounting that now inflation goes up much more than,
Well,
the,
Yeah, no, it's a little hard to get a handle on inflation, especially coming out of the pandemic where inflation jumped 20% per year for 3 years.
especially in
which-
construction, yeah.
Exactly. And then we have long lead time items and things like that. So we've been doing this a long time, and we've built a lot of projects since COVID had hit. And these numbers are exactly what we see in this industry for this level of building. These are essential facilities, so they're a little bit different than, say, a house or an apartment complex or something like that. They're really built to as a Category 5 hurricane to make sure that the health, safety, and welfare of the police and fires are maintained.
Thank you.
Sure. So next we go into site development costs. The PD headquarters and the parking garage occupy about 2.8 acres at about $425,000 per acre for a total of $1,211,250. And then fire station number 69 with the fire administration and the fueling depot take up 2.15 or 2.15 acres at $425 per acre for a total of $913,750. The site security systems allowance, which we've calculated, we've worked with our TLC, a company that we've worked with for about the last 15 years to do the security and technology, so that we can make sure to capture all this in the cost estimate. The police department has a $950,000 allowance at 57%, equates to $541,500. And the fire department, the $950,000 allowance takes up about 43% of that, for a total of $408,500. The fueling island allowance for the piece, this would also be split 50-50 between fire and police, and that would be $557,500 per police and per fire. And then the communications tower allowance will be done by the city at a cost that's outside of this. And the FDOT, the median modifications and signalization that will be happening on Pines Boulevard will also be borne by the city. It's outside of this cost estimate. So the subtotal for the project site development allowance was $4,190,000, which makes the subtotal for the project hard costs, being the site development as well as a building construction, a total of $113,014,435. And those are broken into the two facilities, as you can see below, blue being police, red being fire. The project soft costs, this includes fees, furniture, FF&E, fixture furniture and equipment allowances, technology systems, security systems. So the FF&E allowance, the total is $5,312,040. The technology systems allowance is $5,312,040, and then that's broken out by that. Now, the other things that are not included in this budget are the permitting and impact fees allowance, which would be borne by the city, testing and inspection fees allowance, also by the city, moving costs by the city. And then here's where we talk about the escalation costs. We've got at a 4% annually for 2 years compounding would be $9,221,978. And then the project contingency allowance that Mr. Dodge spoke of is at 10%. We've got $11,301,444 as a project contingency allowance to take care of any kind of unforeseen conditions that come up. So that makes the project soft costs $42,448,945 with a grand total development costs estimated at $155,463,380. So this is the site plan that you have now. You'll see on the left building, the PPFDH.
Before we can move
fire
into that,
station number 69.
excuse me.
That is the existing
Hold
fire
on.
station. Oh, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. I just, before you move on to this next piece,
Yes.
I just had a couple of questions as you were going through all those numbers.
Yes, sir.
So I'll work backwards. We can go back one slide. So the mayor asked a very good question, as my colleague, Commissioner Rodriguez did. dealing with, the cost, is it based on current numbers or is it based on a future value? And you had spoke, I may have missed then, the numbers prior to item 10.7 are based on current values, and this 10.7 is based on what the mayor asked in regards to the escalation, and as well as Commissioner Rodriguez, the escalation cost or the inflationary cost.
Yes, sir.
So I seem to have missed that. So the numbers we were seeing prior to 10.7 are based on today's cost. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes,
And
sir.
this 9 million is based on a projected 2-year increase in cost.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then the 11 million is
Is
for
a
unknown
contingency.
conditions.
That's
and
just a contingency.
Yes, sir. So it's a total of 20,000. I think,
Yeah, that's something that can be talked about too, but, okay. So all the numbers are today's cost, basically, that we're looking at prior then.
yes, sir.
All right, so, can we go to the prior slide now? Let me see, maybe this is it, number 2. Okay, so on 2.3, we have you have a cost for the fueling island.
Yes, sir.
I guess that's like a $950,000. So that's, so I'm sort of, because I'm anticipating actually having a meeting in 2 days from now, not tonight.
Yes,
so
sir.
pardon me for, some of my questions here. But on, let me see here, just give me a moment. Let's see, project 1. Okay, I'm sorry, because the document I'm operating off of is a little bit different.
We
Yeah,
renumbered
obviously
it
there
to
is,
make it
yes,
clearer.
there are
Yes, sir.
errors, right? Because the numbers are not matching, right? So,
My apologies.
so we have a 1.7, which is the fire administration utility plant. And we have 1.4, which is the PD utility plant allowance, which includes the fuel tanks.
That includes the fuel
Fuel
tanks for the
pumps.
generators. Yes, that's all for the generators and the special equipment for the buildings themselves. That's different than the fueling. The fueling is for filling up the apparatus.
So the fuel
And
tanks
cars.
and the fuel pumps are separated. They're not the same.
That's correct. Yeah.
So the fuel pumps are like a fuel island?
Yeah, like a
let him
gas
out,
pump.
let
The
him
fueling
out.
island is a gas pump.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So you can fill up your apparatus or your cars.
Right.
Yes.
And that doesn't include the underground storage tanks?
It does for the fueling island. It does, yes. But we'll have separate storage tanks for the generators at each of those other.
No, okay, but I'm just still thinking about, because I don't know why there's a separate, I don't know what exactly is in a site development for the fueling island as opposed to what is in the building construction where there's a cost associated with that in the hard costs as well. So I don't know what the differences are. You're not giving us any details, so I can't look and say I know what they
Okay.
are. So to me, it's like either it's in the hard costs or it's in the site development. I don't know why they're separated, and it's substantial.
Yeah,
So
the hard costs and the site, the building construction and the hard costs combined make up, the site development costs and the building construction combined make up
No, I
the
understand
hard
that.
costs. Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The building construction costs plus the site development costs together is what we call the hard costs for the process.
Right, and I'm just trying to determine if there's a double counting or not. I don't understand, I just don't know what it is included in the site.
If I understand the question, he would like you to explain what the difference is between the reference of fuel in 1.7 and the reference of
Okay.
fuel in 2.3.
I understand, okay. My apologies for not understanding the question. In 1.7 for the utility plant, and in 1.4 and the utility plant for the police department headquarters, those would include the fuel tanks and the fuel pumps needed by the generators to provide power to the buildings.
Not
only.
fueling trucks or cars.
There's not fueling for trucks or cars. It's only fueling for the generators that will be necessary to keep these facilities running before, during, and after any type of activation, or any type of hurricane or any other event that might happen.
So fueling the generator is a hard cost, and fueling.
But I'm not speaking about that. I'm really starting to become a little agitated because
sorry.
I'm not really ignorant to this. Please, what is a fuel pump?
What is the
Yeah,
fuel
it says
pump is what brings,
1.4. It says fuel pump. What's a fuel pump?
it delivers the fuel from
Okay. Is
the
that
tank.
tied to an underground storage tank?
It would be, but it would be a separate storage tank that would be located near the CUP, the Central Utility Plant, for that building. And then there would be another underground, or it could be above ground, that would be for the fire department. And then that is totally separate than the fuel tanks that
Okay,
would be.
so let me break it down. What is the fuel pump in 1.4 and 1.7?
It's the piece of equipment that takes the fuel from the fuel tank and delivers it to the generator as necessary to power the building when the power goes out.
So the fuel pump here is not related to any automotive. Okay, so
No, no.
All right, so
It's not related to any automotive use or fuel at all. It would generally be diesel fuel that we would run the generators off of. The fuel pumps would.
okay, I'm gonna let this go, but because I want to see probably a little bit more to the details in that, because I understand a generator and I understand a fuel tank that's associated with it, and a fuel pump is probably a very small part of that entire system, which is weird to pull it out as a highlighted component of the system. Now, I understand fuel pumps could be the above ground fueling for a fuel island, but you're saying that's not what this is.
That is not what this is.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll let it go.
Okay, for
Okay,
either of the central
okay, so-
utility plants,
all right.
it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next question I have. So what is you are predicating the rolling assets and the parking and all that predicated on some information that was provided to you regarding what we have for rolling assets. Do we currently have all these rolling assets today that have been identified in this?
I don't think so, no. It's an estimate based on.
So what
you
assets
would-
do we not have that we have not yet actually determined whether we're going to have them or not? I need to know what that would be for what are the assets that we're considering for the future to be incorporated into this garage? I mean, I think it's important for us to know. I mean, are we at 75% of the rolling assets, 90% of the rolling assets? Is one of the rolling assets going to be some sort of mega cost that we're not aware of yet? I know that you can't answer that question.
Well,
by the
I
way.
think.
You're only operating off the information you have, but I just have a question, and maybe to the city manager. The question is, I don't know what the differentiation of what we have today versus what we're planning for in the next 30 years in terms of rolling asset increase. I mean, replacements is one thing, but increasing the size of the fleet is another thing that I don't know that we even had any conversation about. So,
Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mayor, I think the chief can address that. We've identified all of our rolling assets, and I believe they're pretty well have been identified. Chief Vargas, do you want to address what additional space there may be for replacement assets or new assets?
Or is it just that you're building the capacity out to growth? So you're only building the thing once, is that
Well,
what
I
it
think
is?
the rolling assets have pretty well matched what we currently have. There may be some additional spaces, but I'll let the chief talk about that.
Jose Vargas, Police Chief. Yeah, mainly it would be additional police vehicles as we expand 2056. We're anticipating additional police vehicles. We're anticipating additional assets in terms of if we get an additional full-time armored rescue vehicle. And some of the rolling assets also include for the fire department as well, for their growth. So fire engines and apparatuses. Is that correct, Chief? Yeah.
So what would help me is then just to have the ability to know what assets we have today and what assets we plan to have in the future. Because I understand, having more vehicles, and if it's just police vehicles, I'm not registering very well because they're typically take home and, they're by shift, and they're not typically at the admin office or, at the police building, unless maybe you do a roll call or something like that, possibly. But I just like to know what do we have today versus what is it that we're building for? So I just need to know what that differential is.
Yeah, and we can get you a detailed
Okay.
breakdown. But
Yeah.
just to give you a general idea, we also have pool vehicles that we have to, maintain, and they're there just in case, right? And we roll through them as necessary so they don't go bad. Beyond that, the rolling assets, we have our armored rescue vehicles. Presently, we do have some motorcycles. Well, we also have license
But
plate
no
readers.
offense, though.
Yeah, I know.
You made a comment just now, if we get another armored vehicle, that was the statement you made when you were making conversation
Correct.
just a couple minutes ago.
Right.
So
I
and
won't be.
I'm,
I
I'm
won't
listening
be the, yeah,
to those
yeah.
kind of things.
I wouldn't be the police chief probably in the year 2050, right? So that'll be a decision that'll probably be done after me, but that option will be there, and
No,
and these
I
adjustments. Can be
I just
made.
like to see.
Yeah, and we'll give you a detailed breakdown, sir.
That's part of the
yeah.
decision-making process.
We also have the portable red light cameras. That's part of our rolling assets. Again, the license plate readers, and we expect that to expand in the future as well, especially the way technology's going.
Where are they at now, by the way?
I'm sorry?
The portable stuff that you just mentioned, where are they at now? Are they at the
We have them
PD, or are they-
throughout different areas of the city because we ran out of room. So
Okay.
we have some of the traffic lights are out west, some of the LPRs are scattered throughout. Our second armored vehicle is stored in a different place. I'd rather not get too into it, but
No, I got you. I
yeah,
don't want to.
yeah.
I mean, I just know that there are other places too, like you said, in the
Yes,
city
sir.
where we have very large space. When I drive by, they're very empty, but they're very large that could accommodate those kind of things. So, I mean, I'm thinking about that as well. Other space, as you said, centralized versus a decentralization is another
That's correct.
consideration. If
Yes, sir.
everything's going to come there, then yeah, of course, we're going to have a need for all this space. But the city does have assets throughout the city that is intentional to accommodate equipment and things of that nature. So, okay,
And we'll get you that detailed breakdown so you can have that info.
okay, thank you. And another question that I have, and this would be relevant for you. So, I mean, all these numbers here are run, and I'm just trying to evaluate. Is this like if you had a pristine piece of land, would these numbers be different?
Of course, we wouldn't have any demolition to worry about, but there would also be unknowns that we don't know, like site utilities and things like that, because this is a functioning site, and it presently has a police component and a fire component, even though they're not to the level that these new facilities would be at. We have a pretty good idea of the power, the utilities, the fiber, things like that are coming into the site. Now, if we went to a virgin site, a clean site, a green site, we'd have to worry about more stormwater management. We'd have to worry about how we're going to handle fiber. If there's a fiber loop coming in, are we on one grid or two grids? If we're only on one grid, we need more generator capacity, things like that. So a lot of things can change depending on the site that's selected. This one, because the site is somewhat small for the square footage that we're proposing, this is building very vertical. Like I said, we've got a 5-story police facility instead of a 2-story police facility. And if we could go back a little bit to the rolling assets too, one of the things that we had talked about that I believe was a benefit to both the fire and police was having the rolling assets within the constructed structured parking area on the first floor. So it has direct access from outside. It comes in, it doesn't have to go up to any of the ramps or up to the higher levels. It can be all kept in there, safe from the weather, from the winds and all that kind of stuff. It will be protected along with the rest of the cars in that. So putting there is actually somewhat of a cost savings because we can utilize space that would otherwise just be cars for housing those apparatus, which, you know.
So what would be the differential in cost if you did have a virgin piece of land? Would there be an expected, because I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this and you're speaking exactly some of the things that I'm anticipating. You know, you're already on a developed site. You don't know what happens when you knock down a building and next thing you know, you take out, you know, a quarter of the county's, you know, infrastructure because there was a main whatever running through there nobody knew about because it was the Wild West days when things were built, right? So, I mean, I'm assuming that you're factoring in some of those unknowns in these costs that you're providing here per square foot.
These costs are based on projects that are of similar nature of this, and so that cost is built in because we're using a cost per square foot
Similar
number.
nature in a demo and a rebuild.
Yes, sir.
And an existing operating capacity, et cetera, so forth and so on.
On a phased project, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
For an essential facility for this category of hardening.
Okay.
If I may add too, with a virgin site, in order to give you the differential between what it would cost to build on this site versus a virgin site, without talking about the demolition that would be required, we really need engineers to go and look at those things. Civil engineers would really need to look at that, as well as mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and structural engineers to make sure the soils are good, that we can build, we don't have to do pilings, to make sure that the stormwater can be dealt with in a proper manner.
Well, you're still doing that now here. Otherwise,
We
your
are.
site costs wouldn't be quite as high as what I'm looking at here. So
We are,
I mean,
but a developed
I
site,
see it.
yeah, a developed site, we can make some assumptions that we couldn't make with a virgin site.
Yeah. Well, in a virgin site, you don't have to worry about getting in the way of other things, and you could just dig a hole and not be worried about digging a hole.
Right.
Which makes a cost differential because, you know, any damages would have to be restituted, which is a part of the cost that's associated with building on a developed site.
Yes,
so
sir.
I understand that. Okay, so and the only other thing that is I don't recognize, maybe it's built into the cost here as well, is, you know, you're talking about how do you manage an operating facility and a displacement of a service, because here you're making reference that obviously the fire department is going to be displaced. They're going to have to go to a different location or maybe in a tent on the same location. I don't know. And then, of course, too, you're talking about the parking for the operating facility. And, of course, just so you know, I actually walked right by that facility today because my house has no obstruction between me and the police station. I literally see the police station every morning I wake up.
Okay.
So I'm very familiar with the location.
How uplifting.
Yes, it is very uplifting. Then I'm actually, you know, considering a 5-story, you know, facility in a view that I've never had before. So, but we'll talk about the buffering later. But for right now, I mean, I understand the need, and it was just contemplating today, if you do this kind of construction, what is the impact to that area and that community? Because that park that's there, to me, I will tell you, is very, very important, because other people don't know about that park. If you don't live in a neighborhood, you don't know about that park. Yes, sir. Mostly. Yes, sir. But it gets used quite regularly. And I understand, and there is actually an access to a very large apartment complex that's just to the east of there, because it uses that road between the park and the police station in order to be able to gain access to Pines Boulevard. And that was a contemplation, is how will construction actually impact the mobility of the people that live in that apartment complex, and B, the limited park space that my district has. That's one of the very few parks that actually has a pavilion that people can actually utilize in a way to celebrate birthday parties and many other things. So you have an outdoor facility along with sports activities, capabilities, and things like that. And I'm very concerned about this could be a 1, 2, 3 year project that all of a sudden we don't have no use of the park. And I certainly don't agree to any consumption of using that park to take away from the residents that would otherwise that enjoy that park. So that's a thought. I'm putting that out there, Mr. Manager. Okay. And so I'll leave it at that. So for right now, I will reserve further questioning either for tonight or for Thursday if I'm still having that meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Understood.
Mayor stepped out. Commissioner Rodriguez, any other thoughts, or Commissioner Schwartz?
On just that portion?
No, on anything.
Anything?
Well, no, I interrupted. Yes, I interrupted.
Yeah, we haven't presented the master plan yet.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
I do have a quick question. Vice Mayor, if I could be recognized.
Could you repeat that, Commissioner? It didn't come through well on the mic.
I have a couple questions about construction.
Yeah, go ahead.
The wall construction for this complex, the cost, is it based on tilt wall, block construction, or 3D concrete pours?
I don't know exactly what it would be based on yet. These numbers are very similar between.
That's a significant issue then. If we don't know what the construction type is, then how can we rely upon the dollars per square foot?
The cost of a traditionally masonry built building versus the cost of a tilt-up building versus the cost of a precast building are within the same ballpark. There are efficiencies and inefficiencies in each of those. With the tilt-up construction,
Within the same ballpark, it's fine if you're buying it yourself, but these are public dollars, and the public is expecting us to do our fiduciary responsibility of landing a cost of per square foot. If there's a blended way of going about it. That was my first question. The second question is, you had mentioned there would be space that will be built and used later. Were the energy costs to provide air conditioning and electricity and that sort of use, was that contemplated with the overall operational cost of the building?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it was. You can tell by the cost of the square footage for those. Let's see, what do we have in there?
Well, that's the construction cost,
Yeah,
but the
that's-
operating cost.
Well, the construction cost is $100 per square foot less for the space that's not
I see that.
finished out. And that space could either be closed off and not conditioned, though you'd have to be concerned about unconditioned space within a conditioned environment. And so precautions would have to be taken, or that space can be open and the floors, ceilings, walls, electrical, all that can already be located and be distributed at a later date. And making it more cost effective to develop that space. Again, looking into the crystal ball of 30 years into the future, the use of those spaces might be a little bit different, but we have based it on the way the fire chief and the police chief have determined that their departments will grow. And so that space is strategically located where it would need to be for the departments that would grow in the future or are contemplated to grow into the future.
What LEED standards, green building, what LEED standard level was this contemplated for? And is there any solar proposed to reduce energy costs?
I'm not aware of any LEED standards that are required. Every building that we design is to a sustainable level in order to meet, for essential facilities like this, in order to meet the energy codes and just the standard building code that's also enhanced for essential facilities. It's pretty much determined that these will be certified buildings, can be certified buildings. Whether you desire to go after a LEED certification or not would be up to the city. But the buildings will...
A LEED certification would open up the opportunity of grant money and federal kick-in, potentially state kick-in, in order to reduce the overall cost. Was that contemplated by the administration?
Mr. Dodge?
Commissioner, could you please repeat that?
He's asking whether we've contemplated whether the building should be LEED in order to achieve grant funding from various governmental sources.
I would have to rely on the architect for that, but I don't necessarily believe there is a tremendous value in LEED certification as far as grant money that's available today.
Grants are a little tricky because sometimes you can get grant money for certain things, and certainly for sustainability, that's one criterion of grant money. However, every grant, every federal grant, every state grant that the city gets comes with strings attached. It also comes with a litany of items that have to be accomplished in order for that to be. We work with grants a lot.
So it could be Davis-Bacon, it could be any number of...
It could be, well, it will be Davis-Bacon Act.
So if we add Davis-Bacon to this, I mean, there's a significant difference in cost.
Correct.
So sometimes it's worth not getting a grant in order to be able to come in with a cost-efficient product.
That's correct.
As much of a paradox as that sounds.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, no, the mayor's correct. If you have to spend X number, it's about net. Like, what's the net benefit to the public? Overbuilding for a grant and not capturing those savings doesn't make any fiscal sense.
Correct.
So those are the questions I have thus far. I want to thank Commissioner Good for his detailed questions. Now, we know that that oil and electric cars are a current decision-making process. Are there electric stations being built? I'll just say the Tesla charging stations, are they a part of this construction consideration?
To my knowledge, no, we have not identified any EV charging stations within. Those could be added at a later date if necessary. In order to do that, generally what we would do is provide the infrastructure so that you could incorporate them as you need them.
All right. So, Mr. Dodge, who took the lead on determining whether or not we're going to move our vehicles towards electric or not? I don't want to. Has the administration looked at creating some type of electrical vault where we could work with FPL to basically give back power where we can reduce our overall utility costs?
Commissioner, I appreciate the question. I respect the question. Those are operational questions. We're not here today to talk about the operational questions. We're here today to talk about this construction estimate, which is really part of the scope of the project. But ultimately, the price things will cost is what the bids come in on. This is not a bid. This is a construction estimate that would be incorporated into a bid. Isn't that correct? Into a bid document.
That's correct, Mayor.
So what we're reviewing today is the engineers, the architect's initial rendering. What are these, 40% drawings or?
We will bring this is the pre-design work.
This is the pre-design?
Yes. We would create a criteria package at 40% of the project completion.
And then those other values could be built into the RFP or RFQ. I'm not sure which, the RFQ. And we could proceed with that at that time. But right now, all we're looking to do is to get a ballpark, factually rich, the best that we can come up with estimate of what this building might cost, knowing that it will be constructed to the needs of the year 2026, to the best of the ability of both chiefs to determine what those needs might be. Okay?
Yeah, I'll yield for other questions.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I still have, can I say something more?
Yes, he still has the rest of his presentation, but.
No, I got you, but I'm not, I just want to, before he moves on, because it's relevant to what we've been talking about. So I do agree with Commissioner Schwartz in the sense of, I mean, here we had talked about what is the future vehicles that we're going to be considering, but, this whole concept of, you're going, 30 years into the future, and I don't know, that's something, seriously, I think it's relevant to think about because, I keep thinking about the building that we have today didn't contemplate these advances that we have today, particularly with communication. I think now we have concrete bunker walls that if you wanted to improve communications within the current PD, you couldn't get through because the walls are too damn thick to get to, right? So, I mean, that's a very good point to keep in mind in this. But I didn't get to get my answer on a question I asked because I sort of got off trail and talked a little bit about the park itself. But again, I meant to ask when we talk about these relocations and these reconfigurations of utilization of the site that are abnormal, is that factored in the cost here as well?
Everything.
Or is that a separate cost that we're going to have to consider?
Well, the relocation of the police, the police department or the fire department, while the police facility and the garage are being constructed, are not included in this.
So that's not included at all here.
That is not included.
We're talking about moving an entire fire, rescue, all the equipment off-site,
Correct.
because they cannot,
Two other locations.
they cannot be on-site.
I would ask that the
And that
fire
would be a
chief.
question then too that I would have of the fire department in terms of what their response times would be and things of that nature. So, Mr. Manager,
Mr. Manager, your staging
that's just
plan?
that's a
Yeah,
conversation.
we have, Commissioner, we have looked at that, and I've spoken to the chief. We have some alternatives
Okay.
that I don't think will be extravagant, but it will require us to put temporary facilities in, but we need to stay at that same location for response times. So it may be moving it to the back until such time as the police station is built and the police department is relocated there. Then the original police station will be torn down. Then we will build the new fire station.
And moving it to the back means into the park?
Near the park, yes, sir.
Near the park or in the, does it make the park?
Probably right in the beginning of the park. There's going to be some inconvenience, but that makes the best sense because then you have the response time right from there for the public.
Okay,
I have, sorry.
Yes.
To follow up on the sustainability question, so if in these costs, nothing like a LEED certification was considered, the building of something like a LEED certification building was considered, what in terms of sustainability was considered, if at all?
Sustainability, maybe I didn't make it clear. In order to meet the present building codes with the additional building codes that are required for an essential facility of this nature, we have to have energy analyses done. We've got to have all kinds of things put into place to make sure, just as good stewards of design and doing the right thing for the world. Every facility that we design is built to the highest level of sustainability that we can afford to build at any given time, or if we need to extend that, then we can and go up to gold or platinum LEED certification. Quite often, though, that comes with cost ramifications to do that. One of the larger cost ramifications is the building commissioning. You have to have a special commissioning for LEED certification, and that can cost 5 to 10% in addition to, and really all you're doing, we can run the numbers, but all you're doing at the end in order to get that commissioning is to get a certification versus
Yeah,
the
and
building
I
being
suppose
the
the
same.
question then is, so we're building up to these building codes and this normal standard of what a sustainable building would be. Would there be space? Obviously, right now, I honestly don't foresee our police vehicles or patrol vehicles to be EV, but in 30 years, I don't know.
Well,
So like, how do you build in for those possible changes for the future? Because from my understanding, and I could be wrong, in order to build like a Tesla charging station or something of sort to be plugged in at some point instead of redoing a whole garage or whatever it might be.
that's right.
But I suppose that is contemplated, the fact that technology is moving in a different direction.
If we're told that you want to use EV vehicles or electric vehicles in the future, then yes, we can put, if we don't put the charging stations in day one, we can put conduit in for all of the wiring.
That's the question, yeah. Like, are we
Yeah.
putting in the preliminary
Yeah.
assets into the building? Not that we're going to have EV patrol cars, but in 30 years, could there be a possibility? And I wouldn't want the whole infrastructure to have to completely change if we can just plug something in that we could have set in place now.
During the more into the design that we get, the more of those questions will be answered. And I would also surmise that in 30 years we might not be talking about electric vehicles being the state-of-the-art vehicle. It could be hydrogen cells. It could be
flying cars.
It could be flying cars. It could be Jetsons, and so it could be drones. So it's hard to foresee into the future. Like I said, we work with TLC. They're security and technology gurus. We work with them on every project that we've done for the last 15 years. And we have almost daily conversations with them about the contemplation of what new technologies are emerging. We just went to a conference this past week, where we talked about real-time intelligence centers and how important they are for police departments and even fire departments to utilize, because it gives you situational awareness. And for that, you really need special accommodations, and that will be built in. That's part of all this.
Yeah,
Yes.
and are we gonna have a crime center, and maybe you
That's
talk about it?
that's
Yes.
the
Okay.
real-time crime center, real-time information center, and real-time intelligence center
Okay.
are all three just different words
Okay.
for the same thing.
Sounds good, I appreciate it, thank you.
Sure.
If you could please continue with your presentation.
Yes, sir. Okay, so this is your the existing site plan as we talked about. You've got your police department headquarters with the comm tower behind it, the CBS, the storage building there, and then you've got the police department, the 4-story structure there with the fueling station behind it. The contemplated master plan for this that we've determined working with the two departments is to, as a first phase, would be to demolish the existing fire station and build the new parking garage along with the comms tower that would be on the back corner of the parking garage. That would be, the comms tower would be built first so that we could be utilizing that so that we could build around it. We would build the garage and then the new police headquarters as part of phase 1. During that time, we would make accommodations for the fire department to still utilize the space that it utilizes now, and we'd have to make sure that you can get in and out of that. So construction walls would have to be built on site and around the site, around the police department, the new police department headquarters, so that construction can be contained within that area only, making sure that we don't impede the fire. In the second phase, the existing police department, the police department would move into their new headquarters. We'd make sure everything was working great, turnover, everything's fine. Then we would demolish the existing police department and build the new fire station. Now, the new fire station, as you can see here, has the apparatus bays more towards the center of the site. That's a different location than they're in presently. It's a little further to the northwest. Yes, sir. Thank you. A little further to the west, so that we will have to do some Florida Department of Transportation work, or the city will have to work with the Department of Transportation, so that you can get a right in and a left, or a left out and a left in, or right out and right left out, so that you can get a call going either way on Pines Boulevard. And as part of phase 2 also, the fueling station would be constructed during that. My guess would be, because we would be working with the criteria package, bringing this up to 40%. The final 60% would be with a different builder architect team, and they would put the finishing touches on all this.
I'm sorry, the fire station moves east of its current
Yeah,
location.
I was gonna say.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, east. So, okay. Is there any other questions on?
Any questions on the preliminary location design?
Oh, for the parking,
Mm-hmm.
how many vehicles is it anticipated to hold? Because I think the question was brought up a little bit earlier. Our patrol unit takes the cars home.
Right. This is all based on the information that we got from the PD, and I believe we're talking about.
Was it 258?
Yeah, I believe that was 288 spaces in the garage, in the parking garage, 288 spaces. Plus, we would have surface parking behind, as you can see, behind the fire station, which would be secured. And then we would have public parking along Pines Boulevard.
I guess my question is, by how much does the parking increase? Like, how many spaces do we have now versus how many spaces would we have in the garage?
Chiefs?
I don't have that.
And I know that currently, obviously, we have some people that have to park on like the swale and this and around all sorts of corners. So I want to understand, I guess, the amount of growth and then plus what is contemplated after that.
Do you have those numbers, Chief?
I do. I have the numbers. How you doing? Good evening, Marcel Rodriguez, Fire Chief. So to your question, Commissioner, currently there are 172 available parking spaces. 124 of those are assigned to the police department, and 48 are assigned to the fire department. So in any given time, based on our estimates, we can have around 270 employees present at both facilities. So we'll need to accommodate
How many
employees.
total parking spaces will you have?
In this new design?
You said originally
288 plus public parking.
Okay, because that was the other question. I assume the community room or something of that sort would be included in this new development as well, because we have the community room in the police department currently. And when we do student of the month, sometimes even I have a little bit of trouble parking if I don't get there early enough. I think if the three of us go, one of us needs to park in veterans parking. So I guess confirmation that a community room or something of that sort is included as well. And then how much parking is allotted for that public space or that public parking area.
You want to answer that question?
So I'm seeing a bunch of parking spots along
Yeah,
the
you've
front
got-
that aren't currently there.
Yeah, all the public spaces that would be part of the building, anything below where it says secured access or in the parking structure would be all secured parking. That would not be public parking. The public parking, the extent of the public parking will be what's shown.
Basically just those along Pines Boulevard, parallel
Yes, I
to.
believe a total of 55 parking spaces.
Do
are
we know how
designated to
much
be public.
is currently available for public parking? I feel like in my head I can count like 30, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably around 30, maybe 40 on the high end, maybe. But just to give a little clarity, yes, patrol officers do, most of them take the vehicles home. However, we have about 115 or so civilian employees. Each usually work during daytime hours. We also have an overlap between our
The hours,
day shift
yeah.
and Charlie shift. So what we provided to the architects at their request was how many vehicles during your peak time and your peak day, so they could account for those spaces, and that's the formula that we were
Okay,
told they
so
would
there's
use.
the overlap and then there's the civilian.
Right, and then you also have the visitors, right?
Plus the visitors.
So all of you attend at some point our events at the station. You see the limited space that we work with, along with limited parking spaces. So we try to get as creative as we can to accommodate our personnel and our visitors.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to say, just up in the right-hand corner of the screen there, you'll see how the parking deck or the parking structure aligns with the actual facility, the police facility. And it's on the same level on the first, second, and third levels, which allows the police department to come up and have a direct access into their facility from the parking deck, which helps with evidence processing, things like that. You don't have to bring everything down on the lower level and bring it up elevators. So we do have connectivity between.
Okay.
Okay. And this is really just showing how each of the floor plates in the police department lay out and what departments, and these have all been worked out with the fire chief and the police chief and their department heads. And so you can kind of see, we've got the public access area, which would also include the community room, the community center, exactly. And so any kind of public-facing areas would be on the first floor. Second floor mainly is patrol, some training and school officers, some traffic units, et cetera. The third floor, a little bit smaller footprint. Third floor is mainly property and evidence, and other facility support services and IT services. The fourth floor being the crime analysis and the crime scene, and the investigations are all the detectives, digital forensics, victim advocate, more support space, and the SWAT department. And then on the upper floor, the fifth floor, we have the police administration, which is the the police chief and his command staff. And then professional standards, finance, payroll, and a 311 center as well as communications. And then in the corner, you'll see the real-time crime center or real-time intelligence center.
Can I go back to the floor with evidence?
With what? I'm sorry.
Evidence, property and evidence.
Yes, sir, the third floor.
What is the estimated total square footage for the property and evidence areas?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but later in the presentation, I believe it's all outlined in the files that were sent.
Will we net additional property and evidence square footage over and above what we have now? Is it comparable, or is it way more? Commissioner, Chief, if you chiefs can sit closer, I know you like to sit in the back. When I went to the movies, I like to sit in the back. But it would really help. We have company. It would really help if you would sit with us up front. It'll save you a lot of walking. I know you guys are in great shape, but so do we have more property and evidence space in this new setup than we had before?
Yes, sir. A lot more, significantly more, to account for the needs for the next few decades.
This is very important to me.
Yes, sir.
And I know that this misses, people say, well, who cares where you put the evidence? Let me tell you who cares where you put the evidence. If the evidence isn't properly stored, the bad guy gets away. And right now, property is all over the place. Let me just leave it that way. And because we lack the space in order to properly secure the evidence that's needed in order to convict people who commit crimes in this city. Something is going to have to happen about property and evidence in Pembroke Pines. You can't get around it. So I'm very glad to hear that that we're going to be in that kind of shape. Is this building going to offer a place where you can do labs of narcotics and of individuals?
So we do have plans for a crime lab.
Where would
so that
that
we
go?
can process that. That currently would be on the first level where it says crime scene, level 1.
Can we go back to the first level? Thank you. So that area in the back is crime scene. That's where you will have your labs in order to process the narcotics that you take in and then offer any sort of tests to suspects?
We'll be able to process evidence in-house. That's the idea.
Do you have that capacity now?
We do not.
You do not have that capacity now?
We can do some of it, but not to the extent that our crime scene investigations supervisor would like to take our unit or that unit to and those capabilities. But to address a little bit more in your property and evidence concerns, we share those concerns. I've had meetings with our property and evidence supervisor. We are reaching our limits to be able to store the high priority evidence in our building, which is where you want those things. Guns, drugs, jewelry, money, for the very serious crimes that they do happen even in our safe city. We get them, and our people do an excellent job of doing what they can and storing it as appropriately as possible, but we really are running out of room, and at some point we will, and that is a concern, Mayor.
Well, I have to tell you that gives me a lot of comfort. I'm a civilian. I was never a law enforcement officer. However, I was part of the Sheriff's Command staff at BSO for 6 years. And one of the units that I had was evidence. And there's stuff in an evidence and property section that you would not want anyone to get in. And that's why they are encased in concrete. And those doors are nearly impenetrable, so nobody can get into the building to remove evidence. It's very secure. This is not the typical building. This is not an office building. This is a fortress, and it's built for that purpose. The building that we have now is not even hurricane protected. We get a strong storm coming down here. Forget about tents. The tents are going to blow. The building's going to blow. And I'm very, very concerned about making sure that when the chief issues an order, both chiefs issue an order that all hands on deck. We've got a Category 5 coming down Pines Boulevard, that they can do their job without fearing that they're going to lose their lives in the effort of protecting someone else, because the building that they're in isn't even rated. It was built before the rating system was even there. I had a chat with the city manager, and I asked him, what's the history of the police station and the police departments and everything else? And he says, well, the current building that Chief Rodriguez operates out of was the original police station. In 1978, he told me, it was built on a grant when they had such things as grants to build police stations, which currently do not exist. And in the fullness of time, a police station, Mr. Dodge, correct me if I'm wrong, because no one has a memory like you do. Somewhere around 90 and 1991, the city built a police station and converted the former police station into the fire station, the fire department. It's one of the oldest fire stations that we have. Now, I believe that there are 2 bays in 69, but you're going to give them 4 bays. And I got to tell you, I think that that's a godsend for the eastern part of the city of Pembroke Pines. This is their principal fire station. There's 2 in District 1, this one, and also, well, actually it's 3. This one, the one at Century Village, which is really, face it, full-time over there, and the apartments across the street. And then you have the one at the airport. Out west, there are 4 stations. There are no fire stations in District 2. So those 2 fire stations are really taking the bulk of the work in the eastern part of the city. Having 4 bays is twice as good as having 2 when it comes to the ability of deploying fire assets quickly. So I'm enthused by that change alone from the previous iteration of this just about a year ago. Kudos to all of you for coming up with that solution. I'm very impressed with the layout that you've designed so far. Please continue.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yeah.
One other thing, I just want to elevate a statement you just made about the importance of the station that we're looking at here. You're right. There are 3, relevantly, really 2. This station here and the other one by, the park in the Pines Village. But again, and the city manager can, if he can make a statement, we're on a 5-year lease on that property out at the airport. Is that
at
correct?
Maxwell Park, yes, that's correct. Maxwell Park.
Is he there? Mr. Manager?
Yes.
So, and is there any guarantee that we are going to be continuing that lease in the future?
The county has not indicated anything otherwise, because we're paying rent there. So I would assume they would renew that lease. But we've been on that lease for, I don't know, maybe 45 years. And it was renewed every 5. I think, Christine, is it 10 years now or 5? 5 years.
Well, it's not 5 more now, unless we just renew it that we don't know about.
Yeah.
But I know that it was, you know, we had a very large disagreement with the county where they had threatened to take that site away from us. Is that not correct?
Well, they did, but we were providing fire services, so at presently, we're paying rent, not only for the fire station, but also for Maxwell Park and also for Pines Recreation Center. I think they would be very hard pressed to shut down a fire station that services the east.
Well, I can go back to a presentation that I made several years ago that made it very clear that they almost didn't care whether we had a fire station there or not. And they made it very clear that they didn't need the fire station to service the planes. The point I'm trying to make, though, is that that property does not belong to the city. It belongs to another entity. And of course, you know, a couple years from now, or even 30 years from now, and there might be different players. And again, I'm just trying to elevate the mayor's reference to the importance of this particular location going from a 2 to a 4 bay. We may wind up having to use that for all of our east side fire rescue
forbid.
Services. Heaven forbid, correct.
We would
But-
lose our class 1.
But I will tell you, though, that we've already experienced the county, Broward County Aviation, saying, we don't need your fire station for our airport.
Well, it was never intended to be a fire station for the airport. It was a West Hollywood fire station that was intended for the community of both West Hollywood, parts of Miramar, and Pembroke Pines. It just happened to be located there, and they asked us to provide fire service.
Yeah. And we should find a way
Certainly
to.
It would cost them a lot more money because they have to provide fire service. They'd have to build a fire station just for the airport.
Especially all the crashes that they have there.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, we all know what we think, but it's not what we think that makes the difference.
understand.
And again, you know, for them having presented their position once before, you know, in the absence of owning that property, we are at risk. And so
The
we
only
need to
thing
be
we can
thinking
do
about
is research other locations in the community that may become available, because you don't need a lot of land for a small fire station as such. You know, so. But we
Okay,
will explore
I'm just
that.
trying to elevate again
No, I
the importance of
I understand
what
completely
could
what you're
possibly happen in the future,
Yeah.
and why this fire station becomes more relevant
Absolutely.
than just being an improvement from a 2 to a 4 bay.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Please continue.
Okay. Excuse me. So we've gone through the police department, the 5 stories of the police department, then we come to the fire station. Both level 1 and level 2 are shown on this plan. To the left, we have the 4 bay fire station with the facility support areas like this SPCA, fill stations, turnout gear, decon, all those things, along with pressurized vestibules that divide the apparatus bay, which is the dirtiest part, from the crew quarters, just to make sure that we don't have cross-contamination of any kind of carcinogens or other bad stuff
Question.
going through. Yes, sir.
So you have 2 separate buildings now, correct?
Well, we've got the one on the right is on top of the one on the left. The one on the right is the second level where fire administration will be.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what I was confused about.
I'm
'cause
sorry.
I couldn't figure out, why are they putting 2 buildings when they could just put one on top of the other
Yes, sir.
and gain the parking?
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so where they have fire administration, where you have that's really on top of the command area.
It's on top of the crew quarters.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
now it makes sense.
Okay,
So I
my
couldn't
apologies.
understand- No.
My apologies.
No,
Yeah, both
it's-
levels
it's
are shown
okay.
on this one plan.
And I see it underneath, which I missed, L1 and L2. So L2 goes on top of L1. Okay, good.
Yes,
That
sir.
makes sense to me. Okay,
Okay,
go right ahead.
good.
Before you continue, I'm going to ask both chiefs, Mr. Dodge, with your indulgence, and you, sir, if you could, I would like for you to be able to meet with labor, both the police union and the fire union. They're the ones that are going to live in these buildings, and I want you, at the proper moment, I know that we're just designing, but they're gonna have to use them, and I want them to know what they're looking at, and to be able to offer comments for improvements that make sense to them. I know that, and this takes nothing away from either one of our chiefs, but it's been a long time since either one of them pulled a hose or sat in a police car. And I want to make sure that the people who are on the road have the opportunity, doing the job, to have some input into what's going on. Can we agree on that, Mr. Dodge?
Yes, we can.
Can we agree on that, chiefs? Okay? Thank you. Please go ahead.
Well, if,
Even they like it.
even they like that, yeah. Just to reiterate, we did not come up with the spatial needs assessment by just talking to the police chief and the fire chief. We
Good.
came up by talking with every department heads of every department in here, which includes patrol, it includes K-9, it includes everyone that would have a say, and both the fire chief and the police chief allowed their leaders within their departments to speak with us candidly and express what their needs were. I feel like
You
I'm
only
on American
graduate from
Idol
high
or
school
something.
once.
Yeah.
We're going to
Yeah.
have to tolerate it.
Yeah.
Go right
So
ahead.
That's, I just wanted to say that baked into these numbers, we've already got a lot of that information. So I heed your request.
Thank you.
And then this is just looking at.
An elevation?
Yeah, we call it an axonometric that just shows the relationship between the parking garage with the blue police building and then the red fire station next door, and how volumetrically these will work. The new comms tower is further off of the road, closer to the park on the north side.
Both the fire facility and the police facility are north-facing buildings,
Correct.
and that is ideal for some potential lead incorporated design. I know that this is early, but certainly you have heard this commission, and I joined them in this, express an interest in sustainability. Elements of attractiveness are also very, very important.
Of course.
And so I would like you to take full consideration of that in your ongoing designs, because their comments are well taken, and they reflect the desires of our people. So if you could please keep that in mind.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead.
For all these type projects, we understand that we're the stewards of the taxpayer dollars. These are all taxpayer dollars that pay for this. And so we take great responsibility for making sure that we do the right thing with the taxpayer dollars.
Frugal should not mean unattractive.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Also, it might be important to understand that these are all flat roof buildings. So the reason we put the central utility plant, bless you. The reason we put the central utility plant on the ground level, and we have one for the fire and one for the police department, is because we don't want anything that we don't have to have on top of the roof of the building, because during a storm, those can become projectiles and so that we keep them in enclosed cages to make it safer. The same with the same with the parking garage. One of the things we have seen, and we've done in other buildings, is design the top of the parking garage, which would be uncovered, such that you can add a canopy of a solar array on top of that.
Wonderful.
It provides protection for the cars, as well as provides the solar energy that Commissioner Rodriguez
I
had
love that idea. Where is Pooches and Pines?
Where's the what?
Are they on this campus?
Yeah, they are.
And are they being relocated as well?
They're on the first floor, I think.
We work with Pooches and Pines. our program is actually the Animal Assistance Program. They are within here. They won't be displaced
They won't be.
for too long. They clearly, where their current trailer is, where they care for the dogs, that's on the side of the garage. So we will have to, for some time, accommodate their needs as well.
Maybe we can possibly give some thought to, moving them up a little bit in terms of their accommodations. Not that what they have now is insufficient, but maybe we can think about them in 2056. When
Maybe they'll have robot dogs by then.
yeah. So just give that some thought, that we can possibly figure out a way to do the right thing by them as well.
And I think an important note that the architect was trying to relay. This isn't the police chief's plan. This is a ground up. When it started with Chief Justino, later with Kip Chimpano, and now myself.
Yes, sir.
Each time that it was done from the ground up. Every single supervisor at that time met with their units and provided what their needs were today, what they wish they had, and what they anticipate would be the needs for their specific units in the future.
I
So
remember
this is
it
a
that
very
way as well, and I
comprehensive-
know it happened the
Yes,
same
sir.
way in fire.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think the rest of the presentation
Yeah, we
is-
don't have to, I don't know that,
Yeah,
commissioners, you've seen the rest of the presentation. They're just square footages by locations and so forth. Anything else that you need to discuss with respect to the building? And I want to thank you for your presentation and for answering the questions straightforwardly. I think you did a terrific job giving us an orientation of what this building might be.
Thank you.
Anything, commissioners?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Rodriguez.
When will we have
Excuse
more?
me, Commissioner Schwartz, are you still there? Commissioner Schwartz, are you still
Mayor,
there?
I am.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm checking in on you, make
I
sure
am.
you're there. Commissioner Rodriguez.
Thank you.
This might not be particular to you, but when will we have a little bit more details about the transition process from the transition process? I don't know if that's the word for it, but the way that we're going to move from one building.
The staff phase out.
As far as the transition, once we move forward with this, we go out and we select a contractor to do this. That'll all be part of the negotiations, and they will come up with a transition plan that will be submitted to you.
Okay.
So you'll have an opportunity to see that.
Okay. And then more detailed questions as to some of the notes that I saw on the side. Is there contemplation for a wellness/lactation room?
Yes.
Okay. If possible, and maybe later, if someone can point out where that is, I just want to confirm that that's there in the larger spatial needs assessment. I also saw a note on the soft children's interview room. Obviously, unfortunately, people come to a police department in the worst of times as victims. And so I want to make sure that we're building a space that feels safe for maybe sexual assault victims as well, the kids that may come in. I see this children's interview room. Are there any other facilities that kind of accommodate those kinds of needs that I maybe did not see?
There are. It's interesting. Last Tuesday, I gave a talk at Station Design in Reno, Nevada, and it was about trauma-informed design for public safety facilities. And we talked a lot about those type areas. To your point, there aren't too many people that come to a police station that are there for a good time. Generally, they've been brought there because they didn't want to come, or they're there because something terrible happened to them, traumatic happened to them. Someone might go to the fire station because they can't take care of their child anymore, and they need a way to help someone else take care of their child. But we also look at the staffing of the stations as well, because 911 call takers, EOC workers, police, and fire, folks are, every day their life's on the line, from the time they start to the time they don't, and they need those decompression areas. And it's also important to have training facilities, training opportunities, because every day is a training opportunity, no matter where you are. And so built into these stations will be training opportunities that they can utilize. That might be physical agility spaces, things like that, just to keep to the best fitness possible, which also allows you to do your job better, keep the public safe, and also keep yourself safe. And like firing ranges, it's not just shooting guns, it's learning how to shoot guns well and how to de-escalate versus escalate issues.
Yeah. One of the things that I guess comes to mind is when I visited the J.C. Cotterman Center that Broward County owns. It's a center for sexual assault victims. They are extremely particular as to how the rooms are set up, what's even on the walls, like those kinds of things. I know that's getting into the nitty-gritty, but I want to highlight just how important that is, especially for victims.
Yes.
And so I want to make sure that, nothing is spared in making some of these places feel as comfortable as possible. And then going back to the lactation room, is that considered for both the fire space and the police space, or just the police space?
I believe both would have lactation rooms.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
We call them quiet rooms.
Yes, I understand.
yeah,
They might not be in use 100% of the time, and so that's why it's a lot of places have them as wellness rooms, something like that.
Well, the difference is you just have a small refrigerator and a sink.
Exactly. Yes.
And it makes it a lactation room.
I appreciate it. And then, and maybe this is a question for our chief. What is considered for the future of the department facility out west, the PD station out west that I think right now is simply storage or something like that? I'm not sure exactly what the use of it is. Have we contemplated what that's gonna look like in the future? And could it hold maybe some of the things that we've considered to put here? I know we want a lot of things to be centralized, but what is that facility gonna be used for, if not for storage that would be moved to this facility?
This facility is meant to meet all the needs of the police department to the year 2050 and beyond. That would be a decision for city administration to make, what to do with the West District Station at that point. Currently, it has our traffic division. It has some of our other needs, such as our backgrounds and selections unit is out there, which is a bit inconvenient, to be quite honest. But we just ran out of space. We actually had to move them out to make space for other needs in the main headquarters.
So I guess we have that asset out there, right?
We do.
My question is, could we reduce any of this scope to put in, I know it's a very small space, but even, I guess, some kind of reduction here to be able to actually use that space if the people who are there currently are going to be moved into this space? Do you get what I'm saying? Whether it's like a secondary storage facility, something like that, or if the manager has any more insight as to what that facility would be used for in the future.
Those are discussions that I think city administration should weigh on. But ultimately, this would meet the needs of the police department beyond the year 2050.
Let's say moving forward, you feel comfortable that everything would fit in this building. We necessarily would not need that other.
We wouldn't need it.
And so I guess the question is, what are we doing with that other facility?
That's a question we will have to tackle at another time, but it's certainly one that we can discuss together with the community. I know that it is in your district, and we would have to sit down and we would have to come up with a use for it. One of the things that could be done is it could be sold. Another thing is it could be repurposed. I don't know that administration has a plan for that. We could direct administration to begin thinking about what happens with that. Obviously, your input would be essential in
I
that
think
discussion.
that's my preference too. I feel comfortable with this design and this stuff here, but obviously, if we're moving everything out from there to accommodate here, that space is left unused in theory. And I'd like to know what that's going to be used for, because it does impact a lot. It's in kind of like the center of, I think, between Hernandez's and ICE district.
Yeah.
And Commissioner, for some of those other concerns, we too are passionate about victims providing that lactating room, which we do currently. It's not ideal, but we do what we can. Same with, just to praise our victim advocate unit, which once a year you recognize up here during Victims' Rights Week. They've done a phenomenal job of doing what they can with the space they have to make it as comfortable as possible for victim children. But clearly, a new facility would allow a much better environment for those types of victims, and I share those concerns.
And I encourage us. I think what the work that they're doing at the J.C. Cotterman Center is absolutely amazing, and if we can maybe take a gander over there as to what they're kind of, I know our facility would be of a completely different use per se, but victims still could come there first, and so making sure that they feel comfortable in that space. So that's just my highlights.
Any other questions on the architect's presentation? Commissioner Good.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just a couple questions I forgot to ask a little bit earlier. So asbestos abatement, the manager said that this was built in 1978.
Yes.
Right.
The currently used fire portion and the other building in 91.
Has there been an investigation in terms of asbestos in this building? Because the abatement of that would be a little bit of an expense too, unless maybe that too is incorporated in these costs here.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, that's a very good question, because when the original police station.
If you could speak into the mic, Mr.
I'm sorry.
Dodge, so that Commissioner
When
Schwartz
the
can
original police station was in fact built, it did have issues when we converted it into fire. It had been a gun range. There was a lot of asbestos. We found out that it wasn't built according to code, and that was a grant building that was quite surprising. So we had to rebuild that building. So the fire station, as it exists now, has been retrofitted. As far as the police station, there are issues with that building. And that's why when we looked at it, to look at the variation of going in and modifying it and using that, it would cost us a lot more than simply just tearing it down and building a new building. There's all kinds of issues with that building. Not only does it not meet the hurricane codes, there were issues with that facility, and that's why we're moving forward with it.
No, I understand that, but I'm asking about the cost associated with the fact that if there is asbestos there, what is the cost increase it's going to, it's not incorporated in this right now.
We can check. I don't believe there's any asbestos left there because that building isn't that old, but we certainly will look at it. But that's part of the renovation, the tearing down. I don't think that particular building had those issues. I don't know. Is Marty
But
here?
we should know for sure. I mean, if we're going to make this kind of
believe we
investment,
did,
I mean,
but
this is
we'll
I
look at
guess is not the way I want to
asbestos?
go.
Or no? There isn't any.
No.
On record, there is none. Okay.
If any,
Are you going to still be here when we find it, if there is any?
He's going to be here in 2056 when
Yeah, right.
him and Charlie aren't going anywhere.
Sorry.
Listen, that's really important, by the way. I don't want to
I
blow it off.
understand.
You understand that, because
Yes, sir.
asbestos I've seen can become a very substantial increase of
Yes.
Yeah,
cost.
the
Even
buildings,
in
the
demolition?
buildings that we've had asbestos problems with were all the buildings at the Howard Foreman Park that we've had to go in and mediate, and that has been very expensive.
Sorry, just on that point, my question is, would you have to remediate even in demolition, or just have special precautions
have
in the
to treat it.
demolition?
Take it out first.
No,
You have to take it out.
It's,
Oh,
and
okay.
then
a process,
You
but
gotta
I don't
wrap it
believe
up and-
that building
Got
is an
it,
issue.
okay.
There are some asbestos-containing materials that are considered non-friable, which means they don't go into the air and they can't be breathed in. Those are less expensive to mediate. More expensive are the ones that are friable. But even the glue that they used to use to stick the linoleum down, if the linoleum didn't have asbestos in it, the glue did.
Got it.
And so it was a miracle material of the 60s and 70s that turned out to be not a
Sorry to
not a very
interrupt, I
good
was
thing.
just confused on that.
And one other question I have, Mr. Mayor. This will be the last one, at least for right now, on this one. But so we're doing version option 2.2 C-2.2. How many versions are there?
I believe we did more than 12 iterations of layouts from the master plans on all these.
So there's
based
a
on the
multiple
information.
number of options.
There are.
up to 12.
This was deemed to be the best of all of them.
And in regards to all those options, is this the most expensive one? I mean, is this like something we're looking
We
at
didn't
as
do
a
the
cap?
cost. We didn't do the cost estimate, but I don't think it would have been any different cost because this is an opinion of probable cost of construction cost, not a cost estimate by professional estimators. However, it's based on square footages, and the square footage numbers did not change. So there may be fluctuations of how the buildings would actually lay out and the height of the buildings and things like that. But for this exercise, I don't think you would have seen a significant difference as long as it was based on the same square footages.
And all the options had the same square footage then, is that
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything from the public? Seeing none. Mr. Dodge, before we get into resolution number 1, what are your thoughts about managing the cost of this, additional value engineering, the financing side of this? What are your thoughts on how to make this a more workable presentation, should the commission choose to discuss it with residents at town hall meetings and then sometime thereafter possibly placing it on the ballot? What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I've been reviewing this with staff, and I think we have some great opportunities here. Even though we showed this option of $155 million, which included about $20 million worth of escalation cost and contingency. Actual costs are $135. Again, that's really an estimate, but I believe that we have the resources that I could really recommend that if you're going to present this to the public, we could probably accomplish this very similar to how we're working on the strategic plan when we did our parks and recreation and our roads by utilizing resources we have. And my recommendation is that we have up to August 18th to make a final decision, but I would suggest that we go with a number of 80 million. And let me just share with you
80 million for what?
for building this facility.
In bonds?
With the bond.
Mr. Dodge, can you speak into the mic, please?
I'm sorry.
He can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. My recommendation would be that if you did a bond issue or revenue issue, and Lisa's going to get into, and so is Mr. Ford, the differences between those two, I would suggest that we go no higher than $80 million. And let me tell you how I got there. We have resources that we are currently working on that we would be able to generate those cash dollars to bring it back up to 130. And I feel very confident that that could happen. And let me tell you why, because this isn't going to happen next year. It's not going to happen the following year, because by the time the architect finalizes the plans, we go out, we select a contractor to do this, and we sit and negotiate, and then we do some value engineering. I believe we can bring this down more. And by doing so, we're going to bring those costs down. We have some revenue opportunities that may be coming to the city that would generate cash that would save the residents money in borrowing money that we don't need that we could do. So my recommendation, I strongly would recommend that if you put in the resolution a number no more than 80 million, I feel confident we could make this project, as it was defined by our architect, to be made whole. The 155, 135, whatever it might be. So those are my thoughts. I've discussed this with staff, with Lisa Chung, and what resources we have. And I think the public would see that when we originally talked about $120 million project, which today is 155. If you look back 6 or 7 years when we first started this, that project was only 70 million. And the cost of construction has just escalated so hard, so quickly. We need to take action now, because we need a police station. Not so much the building, because you're going to hear that from staff when we go to the town hall meetings. This isn't just about bricks and mortar. This is about all the infrastructure, the technology, everything that's needed. That's the heavy weight that we have to carry when we're doing this thing. Crime scene labs and everything else in crime fighting. It's very, very important to the city. We need to come into today's environment as to how we fight crime a little bit smarter.
So
That's where we are. So my recommendation, Mayor, if you ask, would be in a resolution no more than 80 million.
So you would be supportive of an amendment when we get to item 2, that the 155 become 80?
No, what I would suggest is that, well, the 155, which is the project, stays there, but the amount that we need to fund to build this project is no more than 80.
So,
Because we would
Sam.
use our other resources.
So, Sam, so I'm hearing the manager say that he doesn't want to mislead anyone by saying that the project is 80. The project is 155 at this point. He's going to try to chip that down through negotiations and value engineering, but that we only need to borrow 80 in bonds. What amendment is legally necessary for the ballot language so that people are not confused between the 155 and the 80, which, from what I'm hearing the manager say, is all he wants them to vote for? So what would we have to do to the draft bond resolution at this point to change that number to 80?
May I respond, Mayor?
Yeah.
Based on the manager's analysis and recommendation, the 155 million is in the ballot question, and it is the upset number that would be authorized by the voters to, in fact, borrow up to that amount of money. If it be the wish of the commission to limit the expenditure to 80 million, and take the position that the upset maximum of that would be 80 versus 155, then the bond question could be changed to become 80.
Okay, so that's
Mayor,
basically where I
Mayor.
was going.
Mayor,
So are you, Mr. Manager, are you recommending that the language in the ballot question be changed to no more than 80 million in bonds?
Yes, but I want it to be understood that the project and the scope of the project isn't being minimized. The cost is going to be the 155, 145, 135, whatever it is. We're going to use other city resources to fund that difference, so that the only thing that the residents would have to be concerned with the amount of 80 million and how that would affect them on their taxes. And Lisa's going to be here to explain and show the difference between a bond issue of 155 versus 100 versus 80. we ran those numbers.
And these are resources, additional resources, obviously, that were not available the last time that we spoke to the public about this matter.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could jump in.
Yes.
Very quickly, because I've been sitting here quietly, because we have two items, and I have very strong opinions on all of this. But to be clear, item number 1 is a resolution supporting our manager, our police and fire department's recommendation, in layman's terms, that we need the public safety complex for the future of the city of Pembroke Pines.
That's correct.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the legal eagle
Yep.
says that.
Sam?
If I may respond there, the drafter of that resolution, who was sitting on the dais with you, with the collaboration of his colleagues, would answer that question with a simple answer. The answer is yes.
Okay.
It is in fact a collaborative decision and recommendation of the manager, police and fire, to
Okay.
support a project which looks just like this.
Okay, but that's separate from number 2.
That's correct.
Legally correct.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to address a few things very quickly because I have said absolutely nothing up to
Go right
this
ahead.
point. I want to thank the manager. I want to thank our professionals and our staff. And I don't like surprising anyone on the dais or you, Commissioner, that's on the phone. We absolutely need the complex. I'm not in favor, and we'll get to that. I am not in favor at this time of even discussing going to bond. I could vote legally present instead of no to prevent you all from having the mayor vote no, as he mentioned earlier. But folks, I mean, whether it's 155 or 80, I have nothing but great faith in our manager and our team. But I'd like, number 1, to have a meeting with the architect, which is not scheduled because of my personal scheduling, where we do have day jobs, most of us, and I could not meet with you before tonight. I believe it's Thursday afternoon that you and I are getting together, or you and I and your partners. So that's number 1. Number 2, I love that the number is reduced, but I also know a few matters. Property tax reform has still not been proposed in the state legislature. We still don't know what that's going to look like for the future of the city's finances. We also are sitting here right now in an affordability crisis. Dare I say, we're ground zero for the affordability crisis across the country. Gas is up 40%. Basic goods are up across the board. And I just don't feel that I'm going to have enough information tonight to say on item number 2, yes, I support potentially going to bond and putting this on the ballot. Again, I have nothing but faith in Manager Dodge and his team and the architects. And I don't want to stop this because, to the mayor's point, if someone votes no, he believes that perhaps we remove it from the strategic plan of the city. I disagree with removing it from the strategic plan of the city because we need it. I've been to that police station, not as an arrested subject, just I've toured it. I've been there. You all need it. I also insisted on the fact that it not be a police station, but a public safety complex, because Station 69 and headquarters is next door, and I know you do the best to keep it world class, but it's showing its age. So I appreciate that as well. But I also know that, and Mayor, you know them well. You represented Century Village for 20 years. There are 13,000 residents out there. I know they contact you. They contact me. I'm sure Commissioner Good in Hollybrook has residents that, through no fault of the city of Pembroke Pines, they're paying double in their maintenance fees over the last 3 years because the legislature, in its infinite wisdom, decided that condos in the city of Pembroke Pines should be treated the same and held to the same standards as a condo on Miami Beach that was built long before them and probably would not have been built in the way that it was by today's standards. But those elderly folks were on fixed incomes, and many still do pay property taxes despite all of the different exemptions that they have. They're fighting. They're having children my age try to move in and help them just to make their condo fees every month. So I don't want to stop this, but I'm yes on number one, because yes, we do need it. I don't want my words mixed. We absolutely need this. But already forwarding it to a bond, I would be irresponsible, even though it's just one step, before I meet with the architects myself in roughly 36 hours or so, before we have these town halls, because we are in an affordability crisis. And I mentioned gas, Florida Power and Light. We were the first commission in the state of Florida to say, we oppose your rate increase. Well, guess what? Those elderly folks, and myself included, I don't get a waiver because I'm an elected official, we're paying about $240 to $300 more per year for the same electricity coming out of the same substations as we were a year ago. Again, through no fault of this commission. And yes, there are some homes that, and Ms. Chong is wonderful at what she does. Believe me, I call her all the time. That yes, some homes will not see much of a bump if you've lived in the city for 20, 30, 40 years. But then there are newer home buyers with property values at $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. They'll feel it. But again, I appreciate all four of my colleagues, the three of you here and the one on the phone, and your questions were spectacular. It's an honor to serve with you all. I don't want to stop this process. And I'm willing to actually abstain on number two rather than vote no and stop the process. But I am not voting yes on number two. I think we need more time. I think everyone needs to know more about what's happening and how this will impact their bills, because this is an affordability crisis that we are currently living in. And this is, in essence, even if you pass it now and it doesn't kick in for 2 years, let's see where the world is in 2 years with our affordability. Gas has not come down. I pumped at $5 regular the other day. And me, who drives to Miami almost every day for work, I'm hurting. I do not have an EV, Commissioner. But by the way, you're paying more for the EV when you charge, because Florida Power and Light raised its rates effective January 1, 2026 as well, so thank you. Plus, when fuel costs go up, electric utilities, all they do is pass the cost of the fuel on to you, thereby raising your electrical bill. So that's where I'm at. This is not a reflection on the wonderful work that Manager Dodge does. Outside of being an exceptional colleague, I actually admire Manager Dodge and speak to him about non-city issues. So this is not a reflection on him or his team or on any of our professionals. But I'll wait for guidance, but I'm a yes on one. And when we get to two, I'm either a no or an abstention at this time.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If we could jump ahead for 1 minute, and this might be helpful to Commissioner Hernandez, if Lisa could come forward. And I know whether it's 8 cents a month or if it's 20 cents a month, it is an increase. But if she could make her presentation to us to show the distinction between the cost for a bond versus a revenue issue, I think it's very important. And do you have your slides you can put up, Lisa? Yes, sir. Okay. And then you will see that the reason I went with an 80 million, it has a minimal impact on our community and our residents. It's, I know even if it's a dime, it's more money that has to come out of the pockets of people. But let's at least put it in proper perspective, so when we go into these town hall meetings, the people can understand what that means to them, because public safety, our senior population, is probably more concerned about their life safety, and that's very important. Not only life safety from police protection, but even more so in the area, of fire service. So if you would put that up there, I'd appreciate it, Lisa.
Ms. Chong?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Good evening. Lisa Chong, Assistant City Manager, Finance Director.
Can you speak into?
Oh, so sorry. Is that better?
Commissioner Schwartz, are you still there?
I can, and Ms. Chung, I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, we were putting together what it was going to cost the resident based on the different amounts. 155 million was one example, 100 million, and then 80 million. We are assuming that it is issued in two separate series, one in year one, and then 2 years later, we would issue the second portion of that. We're assuming a 30-year fixed rate bond at 4.63%, and the taxable values we're assuming will increase 3% every year, and that should say maximum. If you have a homestead, your taxable values cannot go up more than 3% every year. With that, we were looking at the median taxable value. Right now, that's at $217,400. Using $155 million in bonds or debts, we're looking paying a total for the 30 years at $2,904. The average per year is $97. The average per month, we're looking at $8 a month, and per day, 27 cents. For $100 million in debt, for the full 30-year period, we're looking at $1,873. The average per year is $62 for the year. Per month, we're looking at $5, and the average per day is 17 cents a day. And then at the $80 million, which Mr. Dodge was recommending, the 30-year is $1,499. Average per year, $50 a year. Per month, we're looking at $14 and 14 cents, sorry, $4 and 14 cents a day for that median value of $217,000.
Just a point of clarification, these
Yes.
are average numbers.
These are average numbers.
That means there's an equal number below the 217,000 median property value and an
There-
equal number higher.
properties that would be higher and there are properties that would be lower, yes.
And some would pay nothing, that's correct.
And we're looking at the median condo value. Again, this was the median at $122,000 taxable value. At $155 million, which is the top end, the total they would pay over the full 30 years, $1,629. Their average per year is $54. Per month, they're looking at $5 per month, and per day, 15 cents a day. At $100 million, they're looking at $1,051. The average per year, $35. Their per month, $3.10 per day. And at the $80 million, for the full 30-year period, we're looking at $841. For the year, they're looking at $28 on average per year. Per month, $2 a month, and per day, 8 cents. We know that those values fluctuate. People will have higher values and lower values. So what we did was create a calculator that everyone can go online. They would need to know what their taxable value is, and they can retrieve that information from the BCPA's website. And in this particular example, even though their market value was $362,600, their taxable value based on their homestead and all the other exemptions was $202,420. And that's the amount that they would put into our calculator. And once you press calculate, it will tell them what that amount is. This calculator is not yet available until we know what the amount of the commission consensus is. We don't want to put 3 different calculations there. We just want to know based on the amount what that would be. And that was it. I have Mr. Dodge.
Any questions for the director? Assistant City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I just, I'm hearing all this too, and I, really appreciate the fact that we go from 155 to 80. Just a couple questions for this right here. I think I might have missed something. You said in 2 series.
Yes, sir.
Does that mean like some now, some later?
Yes, so let's say for the $100 million, we would put $50 million in year 1, and then in year 3, we're doing another $50 million because we can't spend, let's say, all of it in 1 year or 2 years.
So what we are looking at then in your presentation is as if it was all done at one time?
No, if we're done in 2. So year
2
1, we'll
tranches?
issue, let's say $50 million, and year 3, we're issuing another $50 million. And we're doing that consistently for each example.
Commissioner, we have done this in the past, rather than borrow all the money up front.
No,
we pay into-
I clearly understand, because I see it in your table.
Yeah, so in the
right?
first 2 years, you'll see
Yeah,
the
I
small
see that,
amount.
but I'm
and
still
then-
trying to figure out the numbers, how the numbers, a singular number is referencing two series. So I'm, again, coming back to, if I'm looking at this 30-year total at 80 million, it's 1499. So an average person is $50, and that has to assume then that you pulled the whole 80 million. Otherwise, you would have two different numbers.
Well, if you look at the 80 million in year one, I'm doing, assuming 40 million in the first year, so they're paying $26 and then $25. Then year three, I'm also pulling another $40 million, so it's adding on to the existing debt. It jumps to $52 that they're paying. I don't know if you see that in year three's column, is this a
No,
pointer?
I see that. All
Okay,
right.
so now
Is there a typo in 80 million year two?
year two, no, because I'm issuing $40 million in year one, and that goes for 30 years. And then in year three, I'm issuing the remaining $40 million to come up to the 80.
It's probably a rounding error.
Okay, yeah.
If I
okay.
had to guess.
Yeah, it's probably rounding based on the
Yeah, you probably,
fact that
Okay.
the
if there's a
taxable.
decimal out there, you'd probably have,
We're close enough.
yeah. Could
But
pay
when you
down?
average those 30 years, it's at $50.
Commissioner?
So it's $52 in here, okay. All right, so, all right, having that said, the other thing that I'm just a little bit thoughtful is if it's gonna cost us, 135, 155, depending on escalations and, contingencies and things, and you're able to bring that down like by half, the question that I immediately turn to is, well, what are we giving up in order to make up that half? Because I know that in our strategic plan, we had a lot of other projects that we could not do because we did not bond. And some of those projects, are important. So what are we giving up? And then when you talk about a revenue, what new revenue is being generated in order to create that? I mean, I just don't understand all that stuff, and I'd like to see that, because that really is a very
Can I address that? Because that's such an important question. In the original
Commissioner,
bond,
If you may, I would very much like to sit with each one in you individually and share with you how we're able to come up with that. We are not taking any money, Commissioner, out of the strategic plan for parks or for roads.
Right.
These are additional dollars that we're looking at that I think will become available to the city. And there's 2 or 3 different elements of it that I think we can work with, and I'd like to share that with you.
Okay.
I have a question on that. So the strategic plan that we currently have is a percentage of what we had in the original bond. The strategic plan that we set forth this last year, that we've been approving portions of it was for 60 million, and that was for a priority list of projects.
Correct.
I think what Commissioner Good, or at least what it prompted me to think, is there's also a whole set of other projects within that strategic plan that the funds that you are saying could go to this 75 million that could possibly go to this, to go from 80 plus 75 to equal the 155, which is the true cost of the building, in theory, we could be using those other 75 to complete those other strategic plan projects that we did not prioritize in what we voted on. So I'd like to see, and I think I'd like to see one, and it can be on a one-on-one. What gets us to the 75 million? Because the last thing I want to do is go out for a bond only for 80 million, hope that we get 75 million from whatever assets, because we saw even in the selling of the affordable housing unit, that sale fell through. And I know we're working on a couple other things, but we contemplated that amount as part of the first round of conversations on this, on the original bond. So that is always like a fluid number. We don't have security on 75, and we haven't had this conversation as to where those 75 might come from, but I don't want to be in a position where we say, all right, only 80, we're coming to the table with 75, and then prices increase. We have, this war never ends, and we have forever high gas prices or something like that. And we end up having to put out another bond or something of that sort. I do not want to come to that scenario. So I want clear explanation as to where those 75 come from, what projects in theory, the assumption would be anything that wasn't on the priority list for the strategic plan. And then could we build in a buffer, like something like the 100 million, because it makes, 20 million difference is $20 million. And I am very sympathetic as to the cost that this might mean for our residents. Obviously, like mentioned earlier, at no fault of Pembroke Pines, and this day as costs have been rising. But to a certain extent, we can't put a price on safety. The safety that comes with a hurricane-rated building is essential for what our residents are going to need in the future, because I'm thinking about the contemplation. Let's say because this expense goes up and people decide, or I guess we decide, because ideally this goes on the ballot and the residents decide. We're not deciding on this. We simply decide on the value of it. It ultimately is the resident's decision. For something tragic to happen, and then for our police department or fire department not to be able to have 110% like tools and necessary equipment that they need in order to respond to an emergency. And let's say a hurricane comes through and you don't have, you have to have housing insurance or whatever, but something happens that makes it an even more financial impact than paying something like even $97 a year. So to me, I have all these questions, and I want to make sure that we're getting answers for that. But I also want to say, like, the investment of this piece for our residents, while, like the manager said, any cent more is adding to that affordability crisis, like, we also have to think of how do we set up our residents for prosperity in the future when it comes to an emergency.
I agree.
I just wanted to jump in. Again, I said at the very opening of my remarks that I believe we need this. However, I need more information in order to say to residents, this should be on the ballot. Commissioner Rodriguez mentioned insurance. We didn't even have property insurance taken up in the state legislature. They actually ignored it, even though, as the mayor correctly points out in most meetings, the number one squeeze that we're having. We're actually the number one state in the country in foreclosures due to homeowners being unable to pay their property insurance, not their mortgages. So they didn't address property insurance. We each are representing folks that are struggling to get by in the same city, paying for the same services that they did before. And again, I appreciate everything Commissioner Rodriguez said. She actually brought up a great point, 75 million that we would have. Is that calculating the impact of a potential $500,000 homestead exemption, as has been rumored to be discussed and potentially voted on in Tallahassee to be placed on the ballot, they're hoping that 60% of Floridians pass? Listen, I want my taxes cut too. The problem is, how am I going to pay for cops and firefighters? How am I going to pay for the social services that we need at that Jay Schechter puts together over at Focal Center? How are we going to pay for that? And that's why I'm not saying no. I'm saying, could we slow down and not vote on it today? I mean, at the appropriate time. We haven't even gotten to number 2. But I just have a lot of questions, because to put this on the ballot or to say, let's proceed with it, and by the way, I don't think we need to have a vote on number 2 to have it discussed in 9 town hall meetings, unless Mr. Gorin tells me otherwise. I think you can do that. I think you can say there's a proposal. I think you could even bring down Mr. Ford from Tampa, and he could speak to the potential interest rates that you would pay. I know he loves coming to South Florida, Mr. Ford. His name really is Jerry Ford. It's not the former president. But that's what I am saying. We need it. There's no question about it. More importantly, our first responders deserve it. Police and fire and EMT, everyone that responds. But I personally need more time, especially given the affordability crisis that we are experiencing, given the fact that Tallahassee hasn't been a partner to its cities. Hell, they may have just taken a vote to preempt us right now, just because. That's what they do. They don't work with cities. They don't work with counties. This isn't specific to the city of Pembroke Pines. Tallahassee simply ignores 430 cities and 67 counties. And they decide what the heck they want to impose on each one of us, including property tax reform. So I'm for deferring that.
Let me.
I just want to, on one point, can there be clarification, though, from Commissioner Hernandez's point that if we are struggling on something, it is the value and not the process of going out to bond? Because I do not see any other way that we get this building done other than a bond. From my conversations, my understanding, we've contemplated, we've talked like in meetings with a couple different people. I've asked, what about a P3 agreement? What about, a couple of other funding sources? And it all comes back to none of those work for what we have in the city, because even a public-private partnership would mean that we would have to relay the taxes for the future and ultimately raise the taxes that we have on our residents, which isn't the trajectory we've ever taken. So are you saying you are questioning and need more time to understand the value of the bond or the bond itself? Because I don't see, and maybe, I'm not in your head to understand that, but I'm trying to square the circle or circle the square, whatever it is, how one can vote for one thing and then be a no on the.
Well, Commissioner, it's very simple.
All right, well,
I can vote to say that we need the public safety complex and say, let's figure out how to finance it, whether it's 75, because what I'm looking at right here.
But that's just the value, correct?
But here's the point. What's in front of us tonight is $155 million of a general obligation bond. The manager just said, I think I can 575, and I think you can make that 80.
Yeah,
that was 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's
So
just
what
the
I am
clarity
saying
I'm
is-
trying to get at. Is it simply the value? I'm asking you, is it the value of the bond or the bond as a funding source?
I want to have a meeting with the architects. I also want to have a meeting with the manager, and I want to see also if we are calculating the fact that it is very likely that in November we are going to have a property tax reform bill placed on the ballot for all Floridians to vote on that could in fact impact the finances of this city and this county.
Okay, let me sort of chime in because I think we're actually getting close, and I really, really appreciate all the commentary that we've had. Lisa, your presentation, as always, is on the money. So thank you very, very much. Speaking of which, I'm going to ask Mr. Ford to come up. I just have one quick question, and I want to thank Mr. Ford for coming to us all the way from Orlando, is it?
St. Pete.
St. Pete. I didn't want to insult him. St. Pete, please, Mr. Ford, if you would come forward. I know that you have a presentation, but I would want to ask you. So I had you and your son on the phone the other day, and I asked you a very, very clear question. Is it true virtually all of the time that a revenue bond carries more interest than a GO bond? And you said virtually always.
That's correct.
And I'm assuming that that's because when the bonds are syndicated or underwritten or however these bonds are processed, the people that are behind it sort of see an obligation on the public as having a greater reliability than an obligation that a city or a county commission chooses to take upon itself. Is that correct?
It is to a great degree.
Jerry, just tell the record who you are, if you will. I'm sorry.
Certainly. For the record, my name is Jerry Ford. I'm with Ford Associates. We serve as the city's municipal advisors.
Thank you, Jerry.
The fact of the matter is that general obligation bonds, the revenue stream is less elastic than it would be, say, on a water and sewer revenue, where your usage can go up and down. Other forms of revenues, you saw your communication services tax, decline over time. Those kinds of things where there's more stability in that ad valorem revenue stream.
Thank you very much. Did you have a presentation beyond that to talk to us, or did you have some thoughts that you wanted to share with us? I mean, you've been with us now for over 30 years. You were with us in 2005 when we issued the GO bond. And I want to remind people of what it was like in 2005, because I alone was sitting on this commission. I don't know, we were all alive, but I alone was sitting on this commission and voting on that bond issue. It passed unanimously on the bond issue. At that time, it was me, Mayor Ordus, Commissioner Seipel, Commissioner Ferrandino, and Commissioner Armstrong. And it was adopted unanimously and placed before the voters, and it passed by 52 to 48%, 52-4, 48 against. And that was a year that was amazing. It was a very forward financial year for most Americans. We weren't at war. We didn't have COVID. We didn't have tariffs. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. We didn't have a legislature threatening to take away property taxes and so forth and so on. We had just won the All-America City, which very few cities in America actually get. It was an All-America designation, which we still have. Once you're an All-America City, you're always have that designation. We had just changed mayors. We had just suffered through the election and the tragic death of another mayor. And we went out there. And I have to tell you, I had many doubts about that bond issue that I shared with Mr. Dodge before. I knew him well enough, or nearly as well as I do now. I had lots of doubts. But I put those doubts aside because it was explained to me very, very clearly by Sam Gorin, who was our city attorney at the time, and who's a man has a lot of wisdom. And he said, it's not so much that you're voting to tax them. It's that you're voting to allow them to decide whether the series of projects that are covered in the bond are something they want. And if it's something they want, they tax themselves. That is the nature, is it not, of what this bond issue is.
Still is, Mr. Mayor.
And it still sort of is. So this isn't one of those where, oh, he supports a tax increase. No. He supports you deciding whether your city, where you live with your family, is worth how much you're going to pay. We're talking about $50 a month here, a year here, for most folks. You can't go out for pizza for that much. I mean, it has to be more meaningful than just the amount. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I have two roles here as your mayor. One is to represent all of the people of the city. The city of Pembroke Pines is my district, okay? That's different than the job I had before, which was only representing one district. And in each of our districts, in an amazingly delicious and great way, are different. And they think differently, and that's great. It takes all of those different points of view to come together and make a city. But I also have a responsibility to all of you. And I don't want to have to go down the path that we went just a short while ago with anything less than a unanimous vote. Now, if you all feel that you need more time on the second item, we can defer it.
Mayor, I don't want to be the impediment.
No. You're not an impediment. You're not.
Okay, but I'm going to be clear. I'm not voting yes on number 2 tonight.
Listen to me. You're
Okay.
not an impediment. You're being honest, and I respect that, okay? You're not an impediment. There's no such thing as an impediment when you vote on your conscience, okay? If you need more time to meet with folks, that's fine. But but resolution number 1 is important, because I don't believe, as your mayor, and I don't think that we, as a city commission, should invite our public into a town hall meeting and talk about a thing that could involve money unless we're united that this is something that is truly important. And we did not have that step before the last vote that we took on the bond issue. We probably should have. And so if what you're saying today is let's defer number 2 because we're not sure, we still have some questions, that's fine. I want to separate the issues so everyone understands the mechanics, which some folks would call bureaucracy, but trust me, these are legal realities that cannot be ignored. The two charter questions that are going to be discussed at our town hall meeting have to be done by law, by ordinance. Correct, Mr. City Attorney?
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. That means that they have to be read twice. Okay? We read it the first time, and we got majority votes on both of those. And it's okay not to have a majority vote on a policy issue. But I just feel it's very, very important, given our recent past, that if we're going to talk to folks about money, that there be unanimity here. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. Hold on.
That's number 1?
That's not a shot at you. No, that's really.
No, I'm asking if you're talking about number 1.
Yes.
Oh, I'm a yes on that.
Okay, well, but I don't know how everyone else feels. So that's the first thing. If we can have the discussion, and if you all are comfortable on number 1, we can begin to broach the issue with the public that a bond is necessary. We can defer number 2 until you are comfortable, having spoken to the city manager, and I will rely on his judgment to bring the second resolution back. If you all are comfortable with that, I am comfortable with that. If you're not comfortable with that, then you'll vote no on number 1, and it really should be removed from the strategic plan, because we have no intention of even considering the only means to achieve it, which is some degree of borrowing. I think this commission made the right choice in the situation that we were in. In 2025, we asked the residents for money. In their wisdom, and I say that without any sense of trying to joke around, they decided this is not the time for that degree of borrowing. That's okay. They own the city. We just run it for them. But we had agreed that we were going to put up, what was it, 60 or 66 million? 60 or 66 million?
Yes, but that's with city funds.
Okay, and those city funds were going to leverage what we borrowed. When we walked away from that vote, all we had was the 66 million. We went back to work, and we said, what is the thing that we can most quickly, most effectively do to bolster this city after, frankly, and I say this with great affection and regard for everyone who's ever worked here, a decade of inaction. A decade. And it builds up when you don't have a capital plan where you're doing it a little bit all the time, It's like at your house, if you ignore everything in your house, come 10 years, you got a mess to deal with, okay? Now we have all of these different projects, roads, parks, drainage,
Turf.
public safety, all of this other stuff that's just piling up. And it does seem like a lot. It made life easier on the way up. But sooner or later, you hit the reckoning point. What did we do? We said, okay, we know we can fix the parks, and we know that we can fix the roads. Let's deal with everybody drives, and just most of us have kids. Let's do that. And then let's try to figure out a better plan for the public safety station. I believe, complex, I believe that that was the right policy decision. And we are on that road. I don't believe that we should. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a disruptive idea. I think it's an unprofessional idea that we should unshackle our train from that track. We should proceed and do, because then, if we do that, we've done nothing. We've achieved nothing for this city. On this issue, if you continue to have questions about whether or not it should be this or that, or where the additional monies are coming from, and I understand that this was a last-minute announcement by the manager. I'm thankful that he made the announcement. He could have easily shut up and let it go to a vote on the amount that was presented, but he didn't, and I respect that. He has come up with a different way of looking at this, even if it's last minute. If you all want some additional time, you should have the additional time. But the town halls begin Thursday. So I feel, as your mayor, that I need some indication that there is an openness to consider placing something, an openness to consider placing something depending on how the facts come down. And you guys can make that decision in August, because by the law, a resolution for a bond is only one reading, not two. And all we're looking to do today, all that we sought to look today with the second item, was to pass a draft of what that would look like in August. Why is this necessary? Because our state came up with this rule where we cannot discuss what's on the ballot after we place it on the ballot. In the case of the charter questions, that's two readings. So we can talk about it until the third one. And then after that, we can't. That's the rule in Florida. It makes no damn sense, but that's the law, and we must follow it. Now, with the bond resolution, we only get one crack at it. So we have to delay that so as to give our families, our taxpayers, our residents, an opportunity to ask us questions and hear the presentation. So before we deal with one or two, I want to ask you, do you want this to be a topic at the town hall meetings or not? We can do this by consensus. If you tell me we want administration to at least introduce the discussion, we can do that. But that consensus needs to be unanimous. It cannot be just, 4 or 3-2. No, we're talking about big, big money here. So I need to know that we are authorized to have that conversation with the residents, and only you all can authorize it. So where are each of you with that? At the town hall meetings, do you want the public safety subject discussed, presented, and do you want residents to know that one of the ways to achieve it that we're thinking about is the potential bond issue of about $80 million? That's my question to you. Vice Mayor.
That's exactly what I said, though. So I am my only question was, why would I need to take a vote on number 2? I'm all for number 1.
We can defer.
I would love to have the manager, Mr. Ford, anybody who needs to be there. Ms. Trong is at every one of those events. when we had the 500, not really, but 40 town halls the last time. So I have no issues whatsoever. Actually, I prefer that in those town halls, we have a thorough explanation that, hey, we absolutely need the public safety complex. This is the way we think, actually the only way, that we can finance it, because it is for the future of our community, and then have public input. So,
And you want to authorize the staff to go through their presentations and so forth?
well, if by authorize you mean vote yes on number
No,
one.
no. Just to present to the residents how it would look.
I can't make it any clearer. I want them to present everything
Okay,
in
good.
front of
Got it.
every audience.
Commissioner Rodriguez, you on board with that?
Yes, I think, I agree. I do not want the contemplation of 80 versus 100 versus 155, or at least I propose that we mention it, but I don't want to say that the recommendation, like you just mentioned, would be 80, because I think we still have a lot to talk about what that value may be.
Okay,
That we're looking at bonds as an option
Right.
because it's the most viable option. I'm looking at Exhibit 3, page 5, which I'm going to ask you to present on in a second. That's a viable option, and we're looking at all the kinds of different funding that we can add to a bond. But I don't want people to hold on to this $80 million number if we decide to do something different.
Commissioner Good, how do you feel?
I feel like we talked about this a lot, so I agree. I think that
Your mic's not on.
I believe that the public certainly needs to be exposed to this and weigh in on what their comments are. And I'm in agreement with everybody here about moving forward and having conversation. And I am in agreement too, Commissioner Rodriguez, that we're careful with a number because of the same reason that you expressed regarding what are considered to be potential challenges, I guess, to other things within the city. So, but I definitely think that we need to have that conversation. And I fully support taking it to the public, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Schwartz, where are you on this?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Ford, I apologize for this. And you stand up there for so long. Mayor, on the reso for number one, I want to see if there's, given the discussion I'm hearing, so we can get to the proper place. Under Section 2, page 2 of 2, Section 2,
Sir, that's not the question yet before us. The question I have before us is...
Allow me, if I may.
Okay.
Section 2 talks about the funding of the funding of the proposed public safety complex. It doesn't speak to how it's funded. I am comfortable removing how it's funded to allow the public to see Mr. Ford's presentation, everything from GeoBond to CB&A and other financial instruments that may be
What is CB&A?
possible.
What is CB&A?
Mr.
Budget and appropriate.
What is that?
Mr.
Ford, I'm sorry for that.
Mr. Ford can.
Mr. Ford can respond on the record.
What is CB&A?
It's covenant to budget and appropriate. You've used it in the past. It secures the bonds with all legally available non-ad valorem revenues. And in a few minutes, when I get into my presentation, I'll go through that.
But
if you'd like.
it's still a bond?
It's still a bond.
Okay, so
Well, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Ford and I had a very in-depth conversation over the past several days, actually. There are pluses and minuses. It's a part of his presentation, might be on page 2 or 3. The difference is the CB&A can be done at the dais with public input. The GeoBond is done at the ballot box. And either way, I am in agreement with Commissioner Rodriguez that we currently are not in a financial position to pay for the entire amount of a complex like this, requiring input from the public on what they are more comfortable with us going out to secure that finance. One of the questions I had from Mr. Ford is there is an uptick in the interest rate.
Hold on a second.
For the CB&A.
Commissioner, we're just not there yet. Hold on,
Yeah.
please. Focus on the question.
Okay.
Are you okay with us having town hall meetings at which the public safety complex is discussed together with the possibility of a bond issue? That's all we're asking, is to form a consensus around that. They start on Thursday.
No, I'm not. Okay, I am 1,000% comfortable letting the public know that we need to support our first responders, and we have an antiquated buildings that require an investment.
Okay, I don't think we're there.
How it's paid for?
I think it's
How it's paid for? How it's paid for?
Yeah.
Does not necessarily have to be bond. There are different
Which ways?
opportunities
Which ways are
for
those?
us.
Which ways are those?
Mr. Ford can get into his presentation, but to limit ourselves to bond only, to present the public bond only, I don't believe is the best path forward.
Hold on
I'm
one
trying
second.
to find a compromise.
All right, hold on one second. Mr. Dodge, other than bonds, can you conceive of any other way? Bank financing or anything, much more interest, right?
Mayor, the only other option I think Mr. Ford can refer to it is there is a bond issue. There's also a revenue issue. But with the revenue issue, it would require the city
Right.
to raise taxes to pay the debt. on it.
Right. Either way,
Either
way,
The only thing I
is
think
a tax
Mr. Ford
increase.
is saying that.
And you'd pay more interest,
You
right?
can do it in that manner, but
Well,
it costs the taxpayer a little bit.
Mr. Ford, can you think
if
of any other way?
If
Can I interject
before
for a minute, please? Can
um,
I?
before Mr. Ford, it's unfair to say that borrowing is the only option.
What is the other option?
Paying tax, selling city assets,
I'm
selling
sorry.
city property. The
which-
school board's going through this now, and
Which city assets do you want to sell?
this is why last week
I don't think we're ready.
I
think it's, we're
I
ready to have the
implored-
conversation simply
I
not on the
implored
funding
to-
source. We can contemplate all funding
Exactly.
sources. We can, because
all of that.
while I personally do not believe there's other options, as very well put in this thing, in theory, there could be other sources of funding. $1 million, $100,000, bazillion dollars could fall from the sky tomorrow into our bank accounts, and we could pay for it in that way. So to say simply, we have right now, I believe there's consensus in all of us saying we can discuss it, and we're open to looking at all funding options, because in theory, we are looking at all funding options.
I got to tell you, I just don't know how you can structure I don't know that you can structure a town hall meeting without a clear proposal. I just don't think it's tenable. It would become a magical mystery tour of gibberish.
Well, we can.
I don't think
can say
that
there's
we should say that.
multiple
I'm not saying that we're guilty of it, but what I'm saying is I don't think we can do it. And if we just don't have the consensus here to do it, we have to abandon it and instead just hold the town hall meeting on the 2 charter questions and move on.
If we abandon it,
We're
we
not
abandon
together.
public safety. I don't feel comfortable abandoning
I can't
it.
help how people are creating input. I can't help that. I don't see it. I still think we should entertain resolution number 1, and I think that we should defer, if you all wish, resolution number 2, but I don't think that we're prepared to have this conversation in front of the public. Mr. Ford, why don't you do your presentation, and then we'll entertain resolution number 1.
But
The hour is getting late.
Resolution number 1 does not mention bond.
it
It just
doesn't.
says fund a police, fire, public safety. So we can vote on number one. I
Yes,
believe
we
that there's
can.
consensus on number one
Yes,
to
we
be
can.
able to talk about it. It does not mention bonds, which is what we were getting at
That's correct.
previously.
That's correct. Except that I have explained to you and to all of you, if anyone votes no on number one, I'm voting no. Please, Mr. Ford, your presentation.
Thank you very much. And just for the record, we're happy to come down and assist you anytime, in any way you need.
Yep.
Or we may not always be thrilled to come to South Florida. We're always thrilled to come to Pembroke
Thank you.
Pines.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just for the record, we wanted that. on
Welcome,
there.
welcome.
I want to start out with some things you all know.
If you could speak it to the mic a little bit more. Thank you.
I will, with some things that you all know, and that is a little primer on the legal framework when you're talking about general obligation bonds. And let me preface this by saying that all of the financing alternatives we list here are bonds.
Right.
If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and walks like a duck, it's a duck.
Right.
Okay? We may call it a GO issue. We may call it a covenant to budget appropriate. We may call it a revenue bond. We could call it a lease revenue bond. They're all, at the end of the day, money that you borrow from investors and that you pay them back periodically for it. At the end of the day, it's all debt in one form or another. It's just how you get there.
Okay.
So with that said, when you want to use your property taxes to pay off debt, if that debt is longer than 12 months, it has to be approved by the voters. It has to be voter approved. Therefore, the referendum, a GO bond referendum. General obligation, because it is an obligation on your property tax base and you're going to levy what's necessary to pay off the debt. There are several common financing structures. First of all, those general obligation bonds. As we've talked about, their source of security is your property tax base. Goes on your property tax bill, your property owners pay that. It's very consistent. While there have been some exceptions around the country over the years, and the primacy of GO bonds has been threatened in a few places, investors still believe overall that within a given community, that is the highest quality credit that you can have, and therefore, it comes at lower interest rates.
Right.
It requires a referendum. Very importantly, it provides a new revenue stream. It doesn't take revenue that you're currently using and shift it to something else. It's the only financing mechanism on this page that doesn't disrupt existing revenues, existing operations. It is a new, completely independent revenue stream. Okay? There is no non-appropriation risk. You can't decide 3 years from now, well, gee, I'm tired of paying that, so I'm just not going to levy the property tax anymore. We're not going to pay that off. You don't have that legal ability. That would be considered a default. People have legal remedies against the city if they were to do that. Does it have property tax reform exposure? We are not lawyers. Sam can comment on this, but we believe it does not because of the non-impairment laws in the state. If it's passed by voters and then property tax reform comes about, we believe that the decision of the voters would remain intact and those bonds would continue to be paid. Sam, would you like to comment on that?
May I respond there?
Yes.
On that premise, yes. On that specific premise described by Mr. Ford, that answer would be it's a covenant with the bondholders. The state would not be able to legally impair that obligation to pay.
I have not heard of any, Lisa, I know you've been following the issue as well. I have not heard of any discussion by the state legislature that would disrupt or keep cities from passing debt on bonds. Have you? I don't think anyone has. Sam, have you?
Not yet, but just to be very clear, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, the description that Jerry's offering to you is if there were bonds issued, there would be a protected relationship occurring with regard to those bonds. As to future bonds, I'd like to believe you're correct, Mayor, but I've not seen any legislation or proposal that would impair those rights going forward.
Okay, so that's a helpful point of fact to consider. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So of those options on this page, it would have the lowest cost of financing, and we'll talk about how much in a minute. Have you done this before? Absolutely. In 2005, there was a referendum. We issued bonds in 2005, the first tranche of it. 2 years later, we issued them again in 2007, just the way that Lisa proposed doing should you go with GO bonds now. And that's simply because the projects themselves under federal tax law, you have to have a reasonable expectation that you can expend all of the proceeds within 36 months. In addition to that, if you can spend them within 24 months, there are some tax advantages. If you earn interest over and above the rate that you're paying on the bonds or your bond yield, if it's over 24 months, you owe rebate to the federal government, arbitrage rebate on that. But if it's spent within 24 months and meets certain requirements, you get to keep any excess interest earnings that you have. So that's why that 2-year staggering is in there. That's why that was done.
Okay.
Okay. The second is a bond that would be secured by legally available non-ad valorem revenues of the city. Okay. So anything in the term for legally available is not quite definitive, but it takes out public safety, some of those other things. And right now, for your operations of the city, you use ad valorem taxes for some of those expenses. And then to the extent that they don't cover those, you use your non-ad valorem revenues to come in and support the rest. A CB&A pledge, a covenant to budget and appropriate, is simply that. You enter into a covenant that every year from those non-ad valorem revenues, you will place in your budget and then you will appropriate those monies at the appropriate time, the debt service payments. What happens if those revenues aren't available? Well, you have something in that set of documents called an anti-dilution test that says you're going to maintain them at a certain level. You're going to try to make sure that you don't run out of those legally available revenues. But should you, okay, you miss a payment, doesn't relieve you of your obligation going forward for the next 28, 25 years, whatever's left on your bond issue. You're still obligated to make those payments going forward. Estimated financing cost, it's slightly higher than a GO bond. You're good credit. You have a AA2 Moody's rating. It's a very high credit rating on the GO side. It's possible you would get an equal rating. If not equal, maybe just one notch below, but probably equal to your GO rating. Unless tax reform comes around, then that could change the game here. And it would probably price at a level that's about 5/100%, maybe a little bit more than your general obligation bonds. And you saw in the memo that John sent out, that was about $30,000 a year. The present value of every 1/100% on the issue you're looking at, when we were looking at the $155 million, which is what those numbers were based on in the memo, is about $113,000. So somewhere over $500,000, between $500,000 and $600,000, is the value of that difference in the interest rate. That being said, should property tax reform come in, nobody knows exactly what will happen, but we do know this. You would have fewer ad valorem revenues coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It would place greater strain. You would have fewer ad valorem revenues. Your property tax revenues would go down. You'd have to shift items that are being currently paid for from property taxes to non-ad valorem revenues, creating additional stress on those revenues. And remember, this is not a new source of revenue for you that you would pay this debt from. It's taken from existing ad valorem revenues.
So in other words, if there was ever a time for a GO bond issue, this would be it.
Mm-hmm. That's a policy decision, Mr. Mayor, but the fact of the matter is, property tax reform will very likely create additional stress on your non-ad valorem revenues.
No question.
And if that occurs, my personal opinion is that if it occurred before you issued those bonds, the pricing differential between that and GO bonds would likely go up.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I could be wrong, but that is my guess.
Okay.
You can issue a revenue bond that is secured not by all of your non-ad valorem revenues, but has the pledge. Yes, sir.
I have a question, though, because we don't know what it's going to look like, obviously. But there's been talk amongst elected officials in Tallahassee and lobbyists and others around the governor that the possibility is they place a property tax amendment on the ballot in November, assuming they receive, it doesn't take 50 plus 1, it's 60% to amend the state constitution, assuming 60% vote for it. However, they phase in That's because you just said something I really want to understand because I honestly don't understand it. Let's say it's effective January, I'm sorry, the fiscal years in the state are July 1. If they're saying effective July 1, and I'm just making it up, 2028, we put this on the ballot, voters approve it, Ms. Chong and our manager go for the first bond, I don't know if the appropriate terminology is bond issuance, well before the date when the property tax exemptions start creeping in, because they're talking about piece by piece over a decade. How does that affect what you just said in terms of the costs?
Well, you're asking how it would affect the general obligation bond?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I'm not a lawyer. That's what Sam spoke to earlier. That part of it is uncertain. If the referendum were already in place, we would hope that the non-impairment clauses would protect it, but I'd like to hear Sam's opinion on that.
I am a lawyer, but I'm not a magician or a seer, and I can't know what's going to happen. But
I thought you were a magician.
Not exactly.
And my name is Castillo, not Houdini.
Yeah, and I said it not tongue-in-cheek either, because the answer is that Jerry raises the issue. Understand that if you're, the homestead exemption, the homestead tax exemption is actually in the Florida Constitution.
Right.
And if the voters have an opportunity to vote in some way to change that exemption in some form or fashion, to be quite frank with you, if I were to prognosticate tonight as to what impact that would have on future drawdowns of a bond transaction, that would be exceptional. I should go to Las Vegas tonight, because I can't know the answer.
But for example, we may very well be voting. If this gets on the ballot here in the city of Pembroke Pines, we may be voting on both items on the same ballot. Then what the heck happens?
They can both pass, or they can both fail, or they can.
Well, I appreciate, well, obviously, I appreciate that. They could both pass, they could both fail. My question is, how could that potentially impact what we pay in terms of interest on the money we borrow? That's what I'm really getting at. I'm not.
If there's a GO bond issue, we don't pay it out of the tax revenue that comes from us. It goes on as a line item on your bill. So we never touch that money. It goes directly from the taxpayer to the tax collector to the bond company. We don't touch it. We only get involved if we pass some sort of revenue issue, then it comes out of our share unless we increase taxes. I don't see it. If the property tax reform goes through, Mr. Dodge may have to come back here and raise the millage just to pay the bills, just to make payroll.
That's what I'm
concerned
concerned
about.
But
So
the highlighting part is that it's on a completely different line than property
Absolutely,
taxes. What
completely
Tallahassee
line.
is contemplating is simply, and let's not give them any ideas, is simply property tax reform.
right.
When a GO bond goes on your bill, it is a separate line item, and it would not be affected by
It's
property
not
tax reform.
homesteaded property, right?
It is on a separate line item. The revenues from that do come from the tax collector to the city, who then makes the payment for the bond.
Well, however,
And it
we can't-
affects
that's- we can't-
from what I understood, it affects the interest rate of what we borrow.
right.
So it does impact, even if it's a different line item, we could be paying more. I pay property taxes, I own my home. I could be paying more. And I'm not disqualifying it. Trust me, I want the complex. What I'm saying is we got to be clear. Property tax reform could, if passed, impact the
Do you think
interest
so?
that we are paying.
Well, here's what I believe. I'm not sure that that's the case, Commissioner. But what I am sure is the case, if homestead exemptions went up, the tax base went down, the millage rate to pay that bond would go up,
Right.
because that's the way it's legally designed. So the millage rate would rise to whatever that rate was that was necessary to produce the amount necessary to make the payment.
Okay.
That's what would happen.
So that covers pledge revenues. How about lease purchase?
Lease purchase is done in a couple different ways. One, it can be called a lease revenue bond, or it can be called a certificate of participation. Frequently referred to as COPS, no no nod to the folks in the room here with us tonight, but that is the most expensive of the options in front of you. It does not have any pledge on any specific revenue or any specific stream of revenues. It is secured by the lease payments that the city would make to investors, and it is secured by the building itself, by the property that you're financing. So the security would be the project, and it would be subject to annual appropriation, meaning that each year in your budget, you would budget to make that payment, and then you would appropriate it. And should, at the beginning of any budget year, you determine that you no longer wanted to make that payment, you would have the legal right to walk away from it, not a default. You'd walk away, but you'd give up the facilities that the architect just spent a long time showing you this evening.
Right.
For that reason, because it's got that annual appropriation risk, that would have the highest cost of financing.
Any questions of Mr. Ford?
There's a note at the bottom if you go up on the slide. Financing options. Sorry, financing options not depicted, special assessment, private-public partnerships, and potentially other structures. Is it because they're less favorable to the city?
It is. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said you talked about public-private partnerships and had discovered that this particular type of project is not well suited to that. Generally, in most public-private partnerships, while there are some exceptions to this, but most of them have generate a revenue stream themselves, and that's what forms the background of the ability to bring in private.
What would be an example for that? Like a water facility, like a water treatment plant that we could get utilities from?
Highways are frequently a really great example.
Tolling highways would be an example.
Tolling highways, there are parking districts, things that produce a revenue. Not always the case, but most frequently the case. That's really what they excel at, and this is not a revenue-producing project.
So in conclusion, I suppose, while there are plenty of other options, the most favorable for the city would be a general obligation bond from this depiction.
It would be the lowest cost option, that is correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Good? Commissioner Schwartz?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Ford, late last week, your firm gave us a memo that referenced $30,000 a year based on a small uptick in the interest going with CB&A. Now that the manager has essentially cut that number in half, we can say that it's probably half now. So that would be about $450,000 over the 30-year period. And it would take $155 million total, with a total payment of $9.5 million a year, taking it to $285. We can also take that number in half. So that would be an additional probably $35 to $40 million of total debt. So roughly about $120 million over a 30-year period. On the back of an envelope, does that math seem about right?
I didn't quite follow you, Mr. Schwartz. It's Commissioner Schwartz. It's a little bit more than 50%, but it's I didn't quite follow your logic there.
Okay, the $30,000 a year that was referenced in your memo is $900,000 for the 30-year period. Now that the manager is recommending that it gets cut in half, the additional cost would be cut in half, and the total interest would also be cut in half, generally speaking.
Well, the present value of 1 basis point on the smaller issue, on the $80 million issuance, is about $58,500. Okay, so you multiply that by 5 basis points, which was that differential that you were discussing.
Right.
And it gets you between $250,000 and $300,000.
Do you need some water?
Yes, thank you. But the bottom line is, I'm not sure where you're going with this, but it doesn't negate the fact that the GEO is an independent revenue stream that is not displacing an existing
Certainly.
revenue stream. So it
Right.
depends on
It's just the,
you want to take the risk of a current revenue stream being displaced. I mean, that's a policy decision.
right. So the policy decision is what's at risk with CB&A from what wouldn't we be able to, what capital would be impacted versus, well, it's just going to cost us more in interest. If we're going to rank the pros and the cons, the small uptick in the potential interest being charged is minuscule compared to what projects may not be able to move forward if the CB&A were to be the preferred method from a policy standpoint.
And the other thing that differential does not factor in, Commissioner, is should property tax reform come about, would the stress that it placed on your non-ad valorem revenues cause that differential in interest rates to increase? I believe that it very well could.
Correct. So if at a town hall we were to discuss funding options, we can't just say it will cost us more in interest. It's more complex than that. It's property, what the state does, what projects we have, everything that you just summarized. It's not just a one-line answer. It's just going to cost us more. There's a difference of interest. Yeah.
Mr. Ford, can you put your screen back up where you ranked the possible options in terms of increasing expense? Okay. So you're saying general obligation, hands down, will tend to be lower cost to the taxpayer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then CB&A is likely the second most expensive, least expensive.
Least expensive in today's market.
Okay.
That doesn't make any projections about what happens.
And then pledged revenue is basically a revenue bond. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's the third least expensive. And the most expensive is lease purchase.
That's correct.
Okay. So under any scenario, going with CB&A would cost the taxpayers more money. Is that correct?
In Pembroke Pines, it would. There are places where that might not be.
Not only that, but
in
in the atmosphere that we're in right now, it also opens up a box of additional risk that none of the other options carry.
It does.
Okay. So I think this is now very, very crystal clear. What the city manager, is this the reason why you're recommending, city manager, that we go to it with a general obligation bond, not only because it creates the less risk for the city, but it creates the least cost to the taxpayer?
Absolutely.
Do you have any doubts about that? You need to put your mic on. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I have no doubt at all. I've had this experience with Jerry regarding general obligation debt, and I do understand that.
Okay. So I think that's clear now. We're all there. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ford.
You're welcome.
Yes, go right ahead.
I just want to, so we're talking about a sizable bond.
Yes, sir.
And what is the, what's the impact on being able to secure a bond if you have a limit in your ability to have free revenue or non-ad valorem money? So if I have available non-ad valorem money and I got, let's say so much of it, am I not limited to how big a bond I can get because I only have a limited amount?
If you had, as you stated, if you had unlimited resources on the non-ad valorem side, the only limit that you would have is we would run a calculation and create an anti-dilution test. We would go through your budget. We would show here's what's being paid from ad valorem resources. Here are the revenues that legally have to be paid from your non-ad valorems for things like public safety and other items, and then we would come out with an amount that says, okay, this is what would be available. And then we would take a look at that test and says, but it would have to cover this debt by some certain factor. And then based on that number, that sort of net number available for debt service, we would calculate how much debt you could borrow, which is a whole lot different than saying how much debt you should borrow, right? What you can borrow is generally always greater than what you should borrow, and you've been pounding on that for years.
So really, the bond amount that we could get is predicated on the available funds that we would have in these legal areas, and we don't even really know what that is right now, or do we?
Under revenue bond.
Well, not just a revenue bond, but any non-ad valorem monies.
We have,
It's just any monies that are available to
Right.
pay this.
Except for Geo.
we have not run that.
Yeah, I'm staying out of Geo for
Right.
this
We have
particular
not
reason.
run that lately, Commissioner. We, it's one of those things that we can run. We can take a look at it, but we have not run it lately.
And I guess then that would be a question to the city manager is, do we have the capacity to be able to use either non-ad valorem or revenue to be able to fund a bond of this size?
Yeah. He's asking you a question.
Yeah, I'm asking you a question. So the question I'm asking you is, are you aware of what is our capacity to be able to use non-ad valorem or revenue bond or revenues to pay for a bond? In other words, we have so much money that's available to pay for a bond. Do we know how big a bond we can get with the money we have available?
I can't even think of a source.
Well, the issue is,
That's the question.
Yeah.
that's going to become a problem because it's going to have to come out of your taxable separate. See, a GO, it's on a separate line item.
I understand.
But the
I understand.
revenue
I'm just
issue,
asking a real
I don't
simple
know how we're
question.
going to fund that. You'd have to raise the tax. I don't know what percentage I'd have to get with Lisa.
Well, these are non-ad valorem funds or they're other pledges of revenues of non-ad valorem.
Well-
That's what these other twos are. They're non-ad valorem. CB&A is a non-ad valorem.
Right.
And a
If
pledge
it's-
revenue is non-ad valorem. So those two options that you're providing us, the question is, what non-ad valorem money do we have available and how big a bond can it get us? Is that simple enough a question?
No, I understand what it is, but I don't know what millage rate you would have to raise in order to generate that. We don't have that surplus money on an annual.
I'm sorry, Mr. Manager. He's asking about non-ad valorem. He's asking what source of non-ad valorem revenue could be pledged against the bond issue, in your mind, in Pembroke Pines? Is there any source?
I don't believe.
I mean, the
so.
options are being given to us, but we need to run through a mathematical analysis over what is available. I mean, listen, we might have enough to easily get a $50 million bond,
No,
but
I
to
don't-
go to $60 million, we don't have enough.
I don't believe, Commissioner, we have that at all.
All right, well, that's the question. So that, and because that's, I mean, we're having all this discussion
Yeah,
about these options, but that's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
Question is, what monies are available in the non-ad valorem, legal non-ad valorem to pay for a bond?
And my answer to you is there is not any, because when I say we go back, Commissioner, to 80 million, I'm using available resources to make up the difference.
And I understand that, and I'm very clear. I'm just making it clear, though, that when you do these options, you got to make sure, because there's a capacity issue, and as you consume that availability, you also then change your bond rating. Is that not correct? I mean, as you consume all your revenues that you have to pay for your bills, at some point, doesn't the bond market start looking at you as being a little bit more risky?
Yeah, leverage is a factor.
And that then changes your bond, what you pay in a bond in interest?
It certainly does.
So I mean, this is a really bigger issue than just sitting here popping out these options.
Mayor and
And hence, the
Commissioner,
GO bond is certainly, not associated with this.
I'm a little concerned, Mayor and Commission, with the town hall meetings we're starting.
Yeah.
We're at a loss. What are we going to say to the public as to how we're going to fund this?
I'm drawing the conclusion based on just basic bottom line business that we can't tenably have a conversation with taxpayers about a matter that we need their help with without having a plan for how they can help us. And if the direction of the commission was to say, look, taxpayers, we have this issue, and we passed, let's just assume that that happens, we passed resolution number 1. We have taken notice on this dais that creating a new public safety complex with the city is necessary. It is required in order to uphold the health, safety, and welfare of the city. Ascribing seriousness to that need, that urgent need, we are thinking about a GO bond issue that will raise your taxes $50 a year or $25 a year for a condo person on average, which is basically what you have said. The manager has discovered a way to do this creatively using a certain internal financing that wasn't available the last time we had this conversation with you. And that combined with $80 million will buy us a $155 million complex, which is what it costs now. And you will recall that we told you, and this isn't an I told you so, but it is fact. You will recall that we told you a year ago that the longer we wait to do this necessary thing, the greater the risk is that the bonds that are essential to doing it will cost you more, and that the facility that we must build will likewise cost you more. We told you this, yet you are the ones that have to choose this answer, and you chose to pass up the opportunity. Well, here we are again, telling you that that need still exists. The building is going to cost you more because it costs more now. And unfortunately, the rates have jumped up. What is it? 3 percentage points? Is it?
30, out in the
30 basis points.
30 basis points to a half, basically 30 to a half.
That's pretty significant. That's a jump. And we're lucky it's that little. Because in the times that we're in right now, bonds could be 7 or 8%, at which point we can't have this conversation. We can't have this conversation anymore. We can't have it because the residents won't be able to afford it. So there are windows of time during which, if you're smart enough as a community, you take advantage of it. And you say, this is the perfect window to do this in. We had a window. We passed it up. It's nobody's fault. They were entitled to vote as they did. We're listening as best we can. That's the kind of conversation you can have with residents, and it's either yes or no. But it's them making the decision that only they can make about an asset that their leaders are telling them they need within the city in which they live and raise their children. It's their choice. Now, you can go out there and you can have that conversation. But what I don't see the way to go out there is to say, you know, we need a public safety station, but we can't really agree on how to do it. So, but we really need it. I don't see that as being a tenable way to present this in public. So I want to commend the city administration for putting this agenda together in the way that they did it. The way that they did it was that the first thing that we would do is have a presentation, and we certainly have had a very robust discussion of this matter. Mr. Ford, I think if you wish, sir, you can have a seat. The first resolution is a discussion and it's really, Mr. City Attorney, I don't know if you would agree with it, but it's really a legislative finding, which we didn't do during the first bond issue, on the part of the City Commission, which is that we agree with the city manager and the two police chiefs that building a new public safety complex is in the best interest of the city of Pembroke Pines, health, safety, and welfare. We never did that before. So this is a first step in the direction of saying, this is important to do. The second one was about a draft of how we would do it, created this way, simply so that we could present that to the public and let them decide what they thought and give us feedback before we actually entertain the item for real in August. There does not seem to be consensus around number 2. So I'm going to ask now, because it's 10:30, I'm going to ask now, City Attorney, can you please read into the record resolution number 1?
With pleasure, Mr. Mayor, if you will, for the record. We're looking at item number 1, which is motion to adopt proposed resolution number 2026-R-09. Proposed resolution number 2026-R-09 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, supporting the city manager and the police and fire department's recommendation to develop, construct, and fund a police-fire public safety complex, providing for findings and conclusions, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Item number 1, which is resolution 2026-R-09, on the record for consideration, Mayor. Thank you.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Mr. City Attorney, could you please take a moment and read this resolution into the record?
The actual body?
Yes, sir.
My sincere pleasure. That will be a full reading, as they say in the
That's
trade.
correct.
Thank you. 2026-R-09 reads as follows. Whereas the City Commission recognizes that the protection of life, health, and safety and property is a fundamental municipal function and a paramount public purpose. And whereas the City Commission recognizes the critical importance of providing safe, efficient, and modern facilities for police, fire rescue, and emergency response personnel. And whereas the City Administration has evaluated the condition and long-term suitability of existing facilities and has recommended the development of a police-fire public safety complex to enhance public safety services. Whereas the proposed police-fire public safety complex is intended to provide resilient infrastructure capable of serving the city for decades to come. Whereas there is an express finding by the Mayor and City Commission that the design, construction, and funding of the proposed police-fire public safety complex is required to advance, promote, assure the long-term health, safety, and welfare of its citizens and residents of the City of Pembroke Pines, and is recommended by the City Manager and the police and fire departments collectively. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida as follows. Section 1, the foregoing quote, whereas clauses are hereby ratified and confirmed as being true and correct and are hereby made a part of this resolution. Section 2, the City Commission supports the design, construction, and funding of the proposed police-fire public safety complex to improve the public safety conditions within the City of Pembroke Pines as recommended by the City Manager and the police and fire departments collectively. Section 3, all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. Section 4, if any sections, sentence, clause, or phrase of this resolution is held by or to be invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, then said holding shall in no way affect the validity of the remaining portions of this resolution. And last but not least, Section 5 states the following. This resolution shall become effective upon passage and adoption by the City Commission, and it would be considered by the Mayor and Commission tonight as a prescribed document in public. The Mayor would allow for public comment, if any. Otherwise, the document is legally available for consideration and approval up or down. Thank you, Mayor.
Any discussion on the resolution? Any from the public?
Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Schwartz.
Under the last whereas clause and section 2, I'd like to put the word future in front of the words funding. So it would read, the express finding, and future funding of the proposed,
Is there a
and
sec-
future funding of the proposed.
Understood. Is there a second to the amendment? I will second the amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment? He's changing it to future funding.
Section 2. Page 2.
And the fourth whereas clause.
Isn't it the fifth one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm sorry, fifth. I stand corrected. Thank you, Commissioner.
Funding is repeated in both places. One is a finding by the mayor and commission, and one by conclusion by the mayor and commission, which is what the title reflects.
Everybody got it now?
Yeah.
If you change one, you got to change both.
So you're saying the fifth whereas in section, and also section 2?
And
I'm
also
sorry,
section 2?
You said you got to change both, Mr. Attorney. Which,
Legally,
Sec-
that is a
yes.
okay,
You do one, you do both.
I will second that as well.
okay.
Is there any discussion on the item? Any from the public? Please come forward. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Good evening. Ryan Ryder, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm a very big supporter of our public safety, as are all of you here on the dais. Many friends and family and loved ones here in the city of Pembroke Pines. I want to thank you, Mr. Dodge, for putting this forward. One thing I did want to ask, and I know we're probably not allowed to ask from the podium here, but just consideration of HJR 203 that died back in March, but did state that public safety budgets were precluded for the next 2 years from ad valorem. So,
Well, I would answer that question. That is an easy thing, almost a casual sort of fluff thing for the legislature to say. They're looking to cut the very funds that the public safety, police, and the rescue, primarily, portion of fire rely on. Those are the dollars that we rely on to make payroll. And if ad valorem dollars are eliminated, that becomes a hollow resolution. So I'm not surprised that it failed, because it had no substance to it. If they take away the dollars that you need in order to do a thing, yet say that you have to do a thing, is that not equivalent to the biblical reference of making bricks without straw? So I have to tell you that I don't know how that works. So I'm not surprised that it failed, because I don't know that it could possibly be feasible. It's not tenable.
right, I was just bringing that up just in case
I'm glad
next
you did.
week's special session, bears fruit to the safety of the public
And
safety
I'm
budget.
glad
Hopefully
that you
it
brought
does.
it up, because I think that that's a reckoning that the public has to come to. Because if the message is illusory, which is we are creating the illusion that by taking away, the means by which these essential services are provided, the services will nonetheless be provided anyway, I think that that's an empty promise. And folks have to sort of know that. I don't know that you would go to any city in the state of Florida who would say otherwise. In fact, I don't know that you could find a sheriff that would tell you, any sheriff of any political party in any county, that said that they can easily continue to operate without ad valorem dollars. I don't think you'll find one.
No, absolutely.
You
I
know
was
why?
just saying if
Because
you
there
did-
aren't any.
Right. I was just saying that if you
Right.
did increase the budget and had their budgets in mind for the next couple of years, that would be something that would be safeguarded
Yeah,
from more.
it's just, it's rhetoric that's empty, rolled into a statute that, if it was ever passed, could never be actuated. And if we were brought in front of a judge, the judge would have to agree because the money isn't there. So I don't know how that would work.
Well, you guys have
But
a
I
very
appreciate
big-
you bringing it forward.
Very big decision tonight, so thank you so much for all your
Thank you
work.
so very much, and thank you for your service on the school board. Yes?
Scott Barnett, 19346 Southwest Fifth Street. I just kind of want to express my disappointment, and Mayor, you alluded to this earlier, especially with the previous administration. We knew about this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I mean, this was something that just keeps getting kicked down the road. And what I want to say is, I just want to reiterate, and I know you guys know this, but Commission, you have a fiscal responsibility to this community to get the best deal possible. A couple of years ago, when our interest rates went down to about zero, I have a 1.75% 15-year mortgage right now. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why? Because I saw that went down, I took advantage of it. And I know like a year ago, yeah, the rates were down. That was our window of opportunity. I know you said that, Mayor, but I mean, and I'm glad that, you brought up this referendum issue in the first place, because no one's been discussing what needed to be discussed. So we need to make this happen. And obviously, I mean, I don't think there's any question that it has to move forward. My other question is, what's the contingency plan right now to help the public safety department as it is if this moves forward and it doesn't pass and we don't get funding? They're filled to the gills with evidence that's fallen out of filing cabinets, and people are, sitting on top of each other at the police station, as far as I understand. We need to come up with solutions even now, in the meantime, while all this is being discussed, because even if it does move forward with a big improvement, whatever funding or whatever you find, it's going to take years for that to happen, but they still have to, adjust to the needs as they are right now.
Well, I can only tell you that that's the chestnut we're going to have to crack. And but the next time we go at it, it will cost more.
Yeah,
It will cost more than it did today. It will always cost more tomorrow than it does today. And but maybe we will have a more favorable interest rate. Whether or not those are offsets that work, I can only hope so. I don't know.
Right.
I don't have that answer.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that if we pass resolution number 1, and for my vote, it will only pass unanimously, we will continue to work on this.
Right.
Until we find the answer. Until we find an answer that gets to a yes from the people we serve.
Right. Thank you.
I'm committed to that. Okay. Anything else? Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Castillo,
Yes? No, I vote last. He's a new clerk.
oh, I'm sorry, well, you were the second.
This is
okay. I'll
this
still
is
vote
this is
yes.
on the amendment.
This is on the amendment.
This is on the amendment.
You were the second mayor.
Yeah,
You were the second mayor, so you
Yeah.
have to.
that's correct. It's on the amendment.
Commissioner Good,
No, I'm saying you.
Vice Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Castillo.
Yes. Okay, so the amendment passes unanimously. The item as amended is in front of us. Is there any further discussion? Any from the public? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Good,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Castillo.
Yes, and that passes unanimously, and I
Mayor, if you
appreciate,
will, for the record, we need to, the record indicates the permanent number is 3948 for those paying attention to that important number, 3948.
3948.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Item number 2, my understanding is, from our discussion, is that somebody wants to make a motion to defer this item until such time as the city manager is ready to bring it back. Is that correct? Does anybody
That's my
want,
preference, but.
would you like to make that motion?
I'd like to defer the item until, should I?
It should be a motion, if I may, Mr. Mayor, to the Vice Mayor.
He's
Right.
making his
The
motion.
question that I have, though, before I do anything,
Yes.
is to the manager and my colleagues, actually. Would you, really, let me ask you all first. Given the fact that there are still meetings that have to take place, I know Commissioner Good, you and I have to meet separate, of course, but with the architects. Are you and Commissioner Rodriguez and Commissioner Schwartz on the phone looking for a date certain to bring it back? Or do we leave it open? What's your preference?
Personally, I think we should get through some of these public meetings as well.
You mean the town halls?
Yes.
Okay, so no day certain from you. What about Commissioner Rodriguez?
No date certain.
Commissioner Schwartz, I can't see you, so I'm asking you now.
I'm with Commissioner Good.
Well, with Commissioner Good and Commissioner Rodriguez. So I move to defer the item until a future, go ahead, sorry.
Just, Mr. Mayor, if I may comment back to the Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We all know, as I said earlier in the discussion, that the outside date is August the 5th,
18th.
which is the meeting at which this commission will consider on second reading both charter amendments on second reading. This item, which is a resolution which the mayor clearly articulated would have to be for one reading, needs to be considered on that date. So for purpose of the record, that is the legally outside date.
Okay. But in theory, it could come back.
City Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner.
The August the 5th, it doesn't have to be August 5th. It could be we could always move our second meeting on the 18th to the 17th. It just has to be ahead of the 19th.
18th.
There may not be a reason, Commissioner, to
18th, yeah.
there may not be a reason.
I'm just saying, like, we don't need to.
I'm sorry.
There may or may not be. What I'm saying is that we don't have a deadline of the 5th of August, is what I'm trying to say.
If,
We have until the day before it's due.
we'll work on that. The motion, as I understand it, is to
Defer the item
defer
until-
the matter until the manager is ready to bring it back.
And with no specific time
Correct,
certain.
Commissioner?
With no date certain.
With no date certain as opposed to time certain.
Okay,
That's
is there a second to that motion? Second by Commissioner Rodriguez. Any discussion on the motion to defer? Any from the public?
I have a comment. I think from
Go ahead.
the presentation, we can continue to
We-
assume that there's multiple options, but I feel like we saw what the most favorable option would be. I just wanted to comment on
So
that.
is it your suggestion? Can you hold on to that? Let's just dispense with item, and then I promise you, we're going to come back to the town hall. I think that's a very interesting viewpoint. But let's just dispense with the deferral on item 2. Is there any further discussion? The item's been seconded, correct, City Attorney?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Show that passes unanimously. On new business, or old business, as the case might be. Commissioner, you started talking about something that really caught my interest. Are you sort of angling at suggesting that the town hall present the need for and what generally the police department would include, together with the chart that's presently before us, of here are the options and here's what they would cost?
Yes.
Because I think that would be a
yes,
very compelling
also-
Yeah,
presentation.
but I think, and I also tell you though, cost is one thing, but again, it's do we have the capacity to pass a bond at that level? And that's something else the city manager has to provide.
What do you mean the capacity?
I mean, it's if we don't have enough available funds to be
To
able
leverage, right?
to leverage a bond, what's the point in
I
even
think-
talking about the cost?
I think that in crafting their proposal, which would have to the public, which will have to happen tomorrow and through Thursday until the first meeting is held on Thursday, they will have enough time to provide some numbers and some viability to each of these options.
So we can say these are
And then
the-
we can say, here are the
wealth-
options.
Here are the wealth of options, very likely, based on the current facts and the figures that we have, there is not enough revenue to leverage on some of these.
Or
there is enough.
or there is
whatever,
enough, or
whatever
whatever.
the result may
Right,
be.
the
But we
manager-
need to be clear, because if we go out and say, hey, these are all of the possible options in theory, but don't look at the figures that we have, then someone could say, well, you know, the public could have in their minds that there are other options when they're not viable
Okay.
options.
So Commissioner Schwartz, I'm going to try and help you with this because you're on the phone and it's getting late. So basically what we're saying is that the town hall meeting will present the police station, but it will present these four options, explaining these four options which are currently in front of us: general obligation, non-ad valorem, CB&A, pledged revenue, and lease purchase, together with some analysis as to their viability. Do you support that?
Yeah, that was the point I was trying to make.
Okay.
When I went through the suggestion. However, I also mentioned that there may be some city property that we may no longer need, that the manager should also include as potential revenue options. So I would take the four from Mr. Ford, and I don't want to identify the city property tonight.
Okay, Mr. Manager, could you add a fifth
property,
column? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Could you add a fifth column that includes any and all surplus city properties that can rise to this level? Just add
One parcel I'm familiar
Okay.
with, Mayor, but I certainly will look at it.
No, and just add, if you would, please add that column,
Potentially available for surplus.
potentially available
for
to
surplus.
cover this
Correct.
obligation. And this will also give you an opportunity to meet with the commission and talk to them about their concerns and further refine your proposal, which you and your staff, your able staff, will present at the town hall meetings. Are we agreed by consensus?
Yes.
I am agreed. Commissioner Schwartz, do you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay. Commissioner Good? Commissioner Rodriguez? Okay. We are agreed. We have a plan. The town hall meetings will include all three items. The options will be presented to the public. We will take copious notes of what they have to say. Let's also include this information on the website, and let our good people decide what's best for them and for our city. And without further delay, this meeting is adjourned.